My turn and baby, then shit, we all sign.
Test. Yo, what's going on, family? It's your boy AB. And welcome to the NBA Trade Deadline Show presented by Open Gym Network, Open Gym Podcast. I'm your boy AB, and welcome. It's NBA Trade Day, everybody. It's NBA Trade Day. It's a lot going on right now. Man. But let's get all the pleasantries out the way. I'm your boy AB, the host of Open Gym. Obviously, man, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, everything you need to do, man, to stay up to date with everything we got going on here at Open Gym. It's a special day today. A lot has gone on in the NBA. Also, let's get our sponsors out the way. This is also presented to you by SeatGeek. At your first purchase, use my promo code only the number one AB. Again, that's only the number one AB. Get $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Excuse me. Yeah, man, it's here. NBA Trade Day, everybody. It's a lot been going on, a lot of confusion, a lot of I don't know. You have some people who bolstered their teams. You have some people that didn't do much, essentially, like that. But we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna talk all about it, man. I got a great show lined up for you guys as well. We got some guests coming on as well throughout this couple hours that I'm here speaking with you guys. We have Terrell Thomas down in Atlanta, who's the founder of These Urban Times, who also covers the Miami Heat. He should be on around the 3:30 area time. Also, we got John Marks, former radio host of WIP Afternoon Show of Marks and Reese. He'll be on as well around the 4 o'clock hour as well. We're going to touch on some things when it comes to Sixers and everything like that. And then to end it off and cap it off through the night, this evening rather, we're going to end it off with NBA Insider Scoop B. Yeah, man, it should be a fun show. It's a lot that's going on in the NBA. Like I said, make sure you follow all the socials. Follow me on Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're watching this at right now. Make sure you tap in, follow, subscribe, like, do all the things you need to do to stay up to date. And also, while the show is going on, you see it at the bottom, the numbers at the bottom of the screen. Leave me a message, whatever it is you're trying to talk about, question, comment, concern, displeasure about your team, whatever it might be that you want to talk about. You see the number at the bottom of the screen. Just sit there, and I need you to call in and leave a message. Maybe we're going to play some messages, maybe even take a couple calls later on to see what you're talking about. So see the number at the bottom of the screen, 267-630-3828. Again, that's 267-630-3828. I'm excited. Yeah, man. Comments already coming in. Yeah, man. I'm excited to dive into this and get into everything that's going on around the NBA. So we're gonna start here, man. Woj and Shams. They was busy. They were getting the information out there as fast as it was coming in. It was a little slow. It was a little slow to start as the trade deadline went on today. We thought it might have been a little more, action or whatever like that's going on during this time. But either way, man, we here. Let's just go down the list, some of the notable trades that happened throughout the day. As we all know, the NBA trade deadline is over. It is at 3:00. It was done. Obviously, paperwork is still submitted. Things got to get finalized. So a lot of details on a lot of the different trades and things of that matter will come out as the show go on, as far as the details of as far as who gets traded, what they got traded for. Then obviously some trickle last minute, just a trade went through, because again, you just gotta have the paperwork in prior to the 3:00 deadline. So you might hear a couple names after the deadline number of 3:00. So yeah, man. Obviously, let's start down the list. For my guy Woj, he started off yesterday. Actually, started the Utah Jazz trading Simeon Francisco to the Detroit Pistons. Don't get me for messing up the name. I know, man. But for Kevin Knox in the 2024 second round pick via the Wizards, that was a deal that went on. And then obviously, being a Sixers fan, one of our division rivals, the Boston Celtics, obviously they boasted their lineup with some front court help with another forward and center, trading for Memphis Grizzlies center Xavier Tillman. So obviously the Celtics, no matter what you think as far as coaching and everything else, the style of play, they boasted their lineup. They needed some big front court help alongside with Porzingis. Al Horford's getting older, so they went and got Xavier Howard as well. So obviously you got that. Some other notable trades. You got Jazz finalize the trade, sending Kelly Olynyk to the Raptors. That was another trade that went through. Gordon Hayward going to the Charlotte Hornets as well. As you can see, Detroit Pistons, they also traded Alec Burks to the New York Knicks. Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic as well. Both of them are going to the Knicks. So another Eastern Conference rival to the Sixers as well, bolstering their team, as they already got Josh Hart. They already traded for OG Anunoby as well. So you got that as well that's going on over there. Dennis Schroeder, he's been traded. Him and Thad Young been traded to the Nets. They've been traded to the Nets rather than, and the Raptors are receiving Spencer Dinwiddie. For all accounts, it looks like Bruce Brown out in Toronto as well. He's staying as well. What other notable things that went on? Charlotte Hornets, they're sending PJ Washington to Dallas Mavericks for Grant Williams and Seth Curry. Dang, poor Seth Curry he just getting passed around like a mug, ain't he, right now? But either way, as you can see, the Dallas Mavericks, they got some more wing help, essentially like that. They another scorer, but also just some length on their floor to go with Kyrie and Luka and those guys down there. What else do we have going on? It's looked like the Spurs are trading Doug McDermott to the Pacers. So the Pacers get Doug McDermott as they get another shooter as well. The Milwaukee Bucks are trading Robin Lopez to the Kings. Whatever, he just got a job. But obviously notable is that Doug McDermott being the Spurs trading Doug McDermott to the Pacers to add another shooter, because we all know that our beloved 76ers, my beloved 76ers rather, they traded Marcus Morris, twin Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks for Indiana Pacers Buddy Hield. Someone that I was looking to that obviously will help this team. He's a spot-on shooter, shoots 40% from the field. Obviously not the best defensive player, but especially in the situation that we're in, we need scoring. Sad to see, the twin go, Marcus Morris, obviously twin go, but I'm not super mad, but it's like he was a good guy from the city toughness. Played this part, was good for the culture, essentially like that. But the trade that probably got me the most when it came to the Sixers, they made another trade as well. This didn't get me the most. This is the other trade. They traded Daniel House in a second round pick to the Knicks. Via the Knicks to the Pistons. That's more of just a salary dump situation where, obviously the buyout market is around, so that's possible that, they want to get someone like a Kyle Lowry or something like that to be a backup point guard or something like that. But we'll get into that later on in the season. But then also last minute, which got me a little bit, was the Sixers trading Patrick Beverley That threw me through a loop. Just being a Sixers fan, knowing what he's done for the city, knowing what he's done while he was here, bringing the toughness, creating a culture, a hard work ethic. I mean, the guy had Joel Embiid being running run sprints when no one is able to get Joel Embiid to do that. But obviously, Patrick Beverley, he was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks of all people, who y'all know was looking for wing help. Defensive wing help, because defensively they lack since losing Drew Holiday. So they got Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley and the Sixers get in return Cameron Payne, and 2027 second round picks. So the Sixers collecting more second round picks, and I guess it's also a salary situation. Not the biggest fan of that. Like I said, when it came to that, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Cam Payne. I guess he's a shooter, or whatever it is that he does, but I'm not necessarily too fond of losing a guy like Patrick Beverley, who I know offensively. I know he wasn't the most athletic or anything like that, but at the same time, what he brought to the table, his toughness, his defense, the teaching, the learning, setting a culture essentially like that for this team. Something that we missed for years. We all know about this Sixers team and the lack of leaders or lack of toughness. The last time we had something like that was when Jimmy Butler was here essentially like that, and you see how that necessarily turned out essentially like that. So yeah, man, it's a lot that's going on in this game, and that's been traded. I'm just surfing through some last minute things that's going on in the NBA, as they still come through, because obviously they're still coming through and trickling through right now. But man, let's just talk about the Sixers just for a second. Like I said, we can sit there and go home, and we're gonna go around the NBA. We're gonna talk about a lot. Obviously, when our guests start coming onto the show, we're gonna get into a lot of different things. But again, Sixers. Let's start at home with the Sixers, man. It's a little confusing, because then I also seen that not only they traded Patrick Beverley, also just traded Jaden Springer as well. Who also I didn't necessarily understand, because it's like, he was showing that he had some worth. He was showing that he was a defensive stopper, essentially, that, or the potential of he could be a defensive stopper with, the last couple of weeks, locking down Luka and Seth Curry and things of that matter. So I felt like he was just young, and he was showing that he at least had a role if cultivated right. And you got a guy like Patrick Beverley. I mean, you got a guy like Nick Nurse who is here as well. Who you would think would sit there and hone him, mature him. He'd grow in his role, give him a role, know how to use him, stuff like that we didn't necessarily see. We didn't necessarily see when we had other, coaches here like Doc Rivers or Brett Brown or something like that as well. So it was a lot of confusion for me when it comes to that, because again, these were players that were actually, contributing and do something. And get it, I understand the trade deadline. Let's get this out the way. To be able to trade with anybody in the NBA, to get something, you got to give something, right? So I knew going into the situation, you was going to lose some players that we probably necessarily was going to want to keep essentially like that. Like I said, knowing that we needed to trade and bolster this lineup with the potential of Joel Embiid coming back, obviously, someone had to go. So I knew some of the key guys, because going into it, me personally, I had 4 guys that I necessarily didn't want to touch, and that was Twin, Marcus Morris, Pat Bev, obviously Kelly Oubre, and Nick Batum. Those are the 4 people that I didn't want to touch that I wanted to keep as far as bench players, if you could. But obviously that's not something that's necessarily, could have happened. So someone had to go. So initially, when you see the first report of Buddy Hield being traded to Sixers, like, dang, all right, cool, yes, who do we give up? Then it comes out you only gave up 3 second rounders, you gave up Twin, and you gave up Furkan Korkmaz. Cool, I take it. Twin, we love you. You know you Philly through and through. I wanted you here from the get-go. Savvy vet, can get a bucket, shoot the 3, get to the mid-range, X, Y, and Z. Toughness, can put a small ball 5. Can do some things for you that you need within the a veteran when it comes to a team, essentially, like that. So when it comes to that, I was fine. But then when it started trickling down, all right, you start lose Daniel House. Okay, cool. Salary dump. Obviously, to be able to sign any buyout candidates, and just to give you guys just an example or a meaning by it, definition of it rather, is obviously buyouts are people who've been traded but or on teams don't want to longer be with their team, so they'll sit there and negotiate a number where the team can just pay them this percentage of a number out of their contract or how much they want to be paid for them to just go out straight into free agency to go choose their team that they want to be with, essentially, like that. So that's what a buyout candidate is. So after the trade deadline, a lot of these people that get traded to these teams, they aren't necessarily going to stay on that team just because they traded for players, just be able to get rid of people so they're able to create space for their team, maybe for the future or maybe, down the line, essentially, like that. So, like, for example, Daniel House was traded away today and immediately the Pistons released them. So, or board them out, rather, not release them, board them out, whatever, like that. So another one, Kyle Lowry, we know was traded earlier in the year from the Miami Heat for Terry Rozier. He went to the Hornets, I believe. The Hornets, they're buying out Kyle Lowry, so he's a free agent as well. So he's a buyout candidate as well. So essentially, did we get something else? Lakers are shifting focus. Yeah, we talk about that too. So, but yeah, so you have that aspect when it comes to that as well. So the Daniel House trade was more of a just, relieving some cap space, because you got to be under the buyout, got to be under the luxury tax, which is a cap limit. Even though contracts are guaranteed in the NBA, there's a cap as far as how much you can spend each year before you go into the luxury tax. You got to pay penalties. I ain't gonna get too deep on all that because we about to have fun with this. But again, you got to be under the luxury tax to be able to sign buyout candidates. So that was just a salary dump, which is cool. I wasn't too bothered. But then when you start trickling down to like a guy like Patrick Beverly, to a guy like, Jaden Springer, which is crazy. In the past, you wouldn't have got mad about that. But like, again, as you watch this team this year, the early portion of the season, you've seen the potential of like keeping a guy like Jaden Springer around, and obviously you've seen the potential of someone like a Pat Bev staying around. While JoelEmbiid is out, he's on the sideline teaching guys, showing them how to defend. Paul Reed telling him what to do, telling Tyrese Maxey, we need you, the big guys out. We need 30 from you, stuff like that. All those things like that. Things that are valuable. We all know we need scoring. We all know we need defense, but setting a culture. And we had an example of that, being a Philadelphia fan. We had an example of that already when it came to the Philadelphia Eagles this year. We thought we had a crazy culture, but then as the season went along and things started, messing up and we started losing, those are things that were kind of like, had you thinking like, dang, what's wrong with the culture? Where in the past when things happened or people would talk, it didn't matter. We're gonna wash that over because we got things that we need to do. We got things that goals to achieve, Super Bowls to win, X, Y, and Z. So I am a heavy guy I am a guy that believes in culture, because culture does matter. Winning culture does matter. When you have teams like the Washington Wizards down there who don't have anybody, you just got Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma as your lead guy. What type of culture do you think that necessarily is happening down in Chocolate City, as our guy Stephen A. would call it? what kind of culture do you think is going on there? So that's a losing situation. You have teams that like that aren't winning. So I think a guy like Patrick Beverly is definitely something that I'm interested to see, because then I'm even looking now. I haven't even seen any other moves that that we did. So it was like, what was the purpose of dumping all those players that we necessarily could have used? But then, we getting reports that it looks like the Sixers are heavy on trying to get Paul George this off season. But to me, I still felt like that's something that you still could have pursued. Maybe, getting those extra second round picks, maybe sweeten the pot for things and stuff like that. But you traded away a lot of assets, when it came to that. But again, I feel like that's something you could have done. Something that you could have done in the offseason. But there's a guy like, hopefully they learned something while Pat Bev was here. You still got Tobias Harris. So the roster currently constructed right now, you got Tyrese Maxey, DeAnthony Melton, Kelly Oubre, Nick Batum, Buddy Hill, Paul Reed, Joel Embiid. And that's essentially, you got other guys like KJ Martin on the bench, young guys that y'all probably don't even know they've been in the GD back and forth essentially. And Tobias Harris still here. So, we'll see. I would like to have seen like another a center essentially. It didn't necessarily have to be Drummond, but it was just like, someone, because I'm not necessarily the most confident going into the trying to stay afloat. If it's a real expectation of Joel Embiid coming back this season, where they're taking about 6 to 8 weeks. Hopefully, if he was to come back, Kim Paul Reed holding the fort, we will see. Obviously, hopefully, the addition of Buddy Hill, another scorer, another just sniper and shooter, can help as well. Obviously, we lose some defensive edge as well. Buddy Hill isn't the greatest defender, and obviously Pat Bev and Marcus Morris were people who defended stuff like that. You still got like a Robert Covington and DeAnthony Melton, but obviously they've been dealing with injuries all year. Melton with his back that's been hurt. Robert Covington, it's Robert Covington, but he's still as a depth piece as well. But then, you got him as well, but no, they're injured, so you still got to worry about that front. So we'll see. I don't know what the Sixers do. Just looking around the league and looking at different, things was notable. Obviously, like the Atlanta Hawks, there was a lot of noise when it came to DeJounte Murray being traded. DeJounte Murray being traded. Hold on, I'm sorry. I got my guest trying to get on right now. DeJounte Murray being another person as well that was on the trade. About the Lakers, they surprised me a lot. The Lakers did. They didn't do anything. Lakers didn't do anything. I thought they would have done something, but obviously they didn't do anything essentially like that. Like I said, the Hawks essentially like that. But I see my first guest is here. Terrell is in. We're gonna bring him on right now. Let's see what's going on. Yo, what's going on, fam? How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Good afternoon. Feels good to be joining you today. Good sir. How you doing today?
Hey man, I appreciate you coming in and stepping in for sure. Welcome, man. It's been a fun time, as you just seen the NBA trade deadline has just concluded. Obviously, last little information is coming out for different things. For everyone, this is Terrell Thomas from These Urban Times down in Atlanta. Does a host of things, covers music, sports, a realtor, whatever it is you need, he got you, man. He's multi-talented, multifaceted in everything that he does, man. So thank you, man, for hopping on the show, man. Any, I guess, before we get into my questioning or anything like that, any opening statements or any opening thoughts that you seen during the trade deadline that, stood out to you, rather negative, positive, whatever it might be?
Yeah, nothing. And again, thank you for having me. I
Yes,
definitely
sir.
appreciate joining your platform. Much respect to everything that you do, man. I can't really say any negative things so far. As you mentioned, I'm down here in Atlanta, so I was certainly monitoring what was going to happen with the Hawks situation. I'm pleased
Absolutely.
and happy that DeJounte Murray is still a member of the Hawks. I couldn't fathom why his name was even coming up in trade discussions, to be quite honest with you. But that's neither here nor there. I will say I was a little surprised at the moves that our hometown Sixers made. Of course, I keep my eye on the Sixers, being a Philly native. I know they right in the backyard for you, so you
Absolutely.
with everything that's going on there. A little sad to see Marcus leave. A gentleman, like, I grew up with that cat, so I was highly pleased when he became a Sixer. So to see him traded was kind of heartbreaking, but it's a business at the end of the day. So I understood that move. Buddy Hield, I'm hoping that he still has something left in the tank and can contribute. So those are the two things so far that really stood out to me today. But I feel like a lot of teams got better across the league and whatnot. So I'm excited to chat with you about it.
Absolutely. So let's start, like you said, you started off the conversation about, you being in Atlanta, obviously, keeping your eye on everything with Hawks. What's the vibe? What's the vibe? What they talking about down there since this trade deadline has passed? How are they feeling? They feeling good? They feeling, they wanted them out of here. Obviously, DeJounte Murray situation was a big thing. Tell me what the vibes are like down in Atlanta.
Well, I will say I'm quite sure a lot of Hawks fans and a lot of people who cover the league are extremely pleased that he is still here. As I will be talking to different players, talking to different fans, and even talking to some of our media peers, nobody wanted to see him go, and
Okay.
it was a lot of speculation, even like in our media rooms and stuff. Like, why is DeJounte's name outside of Trae Young? He's been the biggest contributor for the Hawks over the last 2 seasons. So I can understand, maybe he had the most trade value,
Right.
but just as they continue to build with this young roster, I was confused. Again, like, why is this brother's name keep coming up in trade discussions? He's someone that I was really hoping would be here to build with Trae Young. So I'm glad that is where we are with that right now. And again, I think he's pleased too, because I've spoken to him, and he's the professional's professional, man. Like,
Okay.
no, he is. That cat right there. My kids are big fans of his, and whenever I had the opportunity to bring him to the game, he makes sure he stops, takes pictures with them,
That's what's up.
like, gives them advice. Not only my kids, but I've seen him doing that to a plethora of just young Hawks fans and basketball fans. We see him out as a father. He's a great cat. So I'm very pleased that he's still here. But the mood has been great. The Hawks have won 4 of their last 5. A tough loss recently to the best team in the NBA, the LA Clippers. But we had a week last week where they beat they beat the Lakers, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Suns, and they beat the Warriors on Steph Curry. The night Steph Curry dropped 60 points. So things are starting to turn around, as we were approaching this trade deadline, and of course getting closer and closer to the All-Star break. So I'm hoping that we really see a breakthrough from the Hawks.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree to as far as I didn't understand why they wanted to trade him initially. I'm not mad if we would like got him anything like that for sure. So I wasn't like, oh, don't trade him. He's a good player for y'all. It's like, no, if you really want to, I would take him, of course. But yeah, I never understood it because, like I said, I do believe it or not, it was a good pairing for those two guys. Like because again, we all know, even though Trae Young, is a great scorer, but is another aspect of his game that he's very good at, and that's passing as well. So now you're sitting here, whereas Trae can be on ball, but then also there's moments where he can be off ball because he's such a great shooter. And a guy like DeJounte Murray, who can play with the ball and show that he can play without the ball as well, being a cutter, slasher, hitting the three. I felt like they could have worked it out and seamlessly worked together, essentially like that. So I agree when it comes to, I never understood why they wanted to trade him. Was there anybody on the team that you necessarily thought would be traded or should be traded, or even take it a step further as far as, did you think the team had to bolster any position on their team that they needed going forward to make a real run, or are they more so just content where they at and let the chips fall where they may?
No, I did want to see the Hawks make some moves. I won't lie to you. I just didn't feel like DeJounte needed to be someone and which was at the forefront of that. It's funny too, like it's covering these cats for some time. You kind of build relationships with these guys.
Yeah.
So I hate to say that I would have liked to see anyone go, but I feel like a guy like Clint Capella, he can help a championship team immediately. He's a little older. He's still a great rim protector, but offensively, he's very inconsistent. There are nights where he can give you 15, 18 points, but a lot of those are going to be lobs from Trae Young and such. And I would really like to see some of the younger cats, like Onyeka Okongwu, Double O, like to see him get more minutes.
Okay.
So I felt like if anything, they needed another scoring big man or possibly another scoring forward, someone that could get him again, somewhere between 15 to 18 points a night. We know Trey's going to give you anywhere between 27 and 35. We know DeJounte is kind of in that same range where, he can give you 14 points. He can give you 30, he can give you 35. Yeah. He's kind of a cat where I haven't seen him be extremely assertive offensively unless Trae is out the game, but he has the talent. He is a number one. He's a number one, of course, all-star talent. So I would have liked to see them get another scoring contributor, but I think that they've been really pleased with young cat Jalen Johnson, who's pretty much come out of nowhere. He didn't get a lot of playing time last year. He went to Duke and didn't get a lot of playing time, I believe, due to injury and such. But the Cats got a lot of his bag, so I think they got a lot of confidence and a lot of faith that as he continues to get more minutes and develop, he'll be cool. So again, I would like to see Clint maybe get traded out of here. But outside of that, I'm very pleased with just like the Hawks' young talent. I'm not sure if they can knock off, I'll say like some of the top 4 or 5 in the East. But outside of that, I think on any given night, they can pick up a win against the best in the NBA.
So I guess it's safe to say you going into the trade deadline, you were content to, if it was like smaller moves, anything like that, like you said, a Clint Capella be moved or something like that, you're fine. But you were content and okay with having your young talent there, growing it, let them grow, and wherever the season may take you, let it be. Because you're not necessarily looking at this team. I would think you're not necessarily looking at this team as going to the championship right now, essentially like that.
No, I don't really necessarily see that for them at the current state. But I'll say this, a few years ago, a lot of people didn't see the Hawks get into the Eastern Conference Finals. I do believe once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. Especially in the NBA where it's a 4-game series or 7-game series, rather. Best out of 4 situation. I think anything is possible when you have a talent like Trae Young, who on any given night can explode for you. That a championship may not be the closest thing for this team, but I wouldn't say it's far out the window.
I agree. I mean, I again, did I want DeJounte or would I have been mad if he's here? Absolutely not. But I mean, I get it, and I would again, as far as the GM down there in Atlanta, I would think that would probably been the worst move he probably could have did right now. Especially like you said, they're not necessarily contenders, so you got to give the fans something to look at, something to watch, essentially like that. You can't be out there with just Trae Young in the gang and just hopefully things happen. So what do you see for the Hawks' future? And this will be like the last thing when it comes to it, because I know Trae had different situations going on with the other head coaches being here. Obviously, we're past the DeJounte Murray situation. He's still here for now, obviously. He wasn't not in trade rumors for no reason, obviously. So he's here for now, the team. So what is your, I guess, best case scenario, or what do you think the direction of the Hawks is going forward right now?
I know that the mission is still clear when it comes to the Hawks, that they want a championship. And that's something that Trae Young has spoke on several times. And even the Hawks owner, Tony Ressler, when he bought the team, he was very, very firm that a championship is something that he wants to bring to Atlanta. It's something that he wants to see this Hawks franchise accomplish. As you just mentioned, and it's very well said. Now, one of the unfortunate things in Trae's young career, he has already had a plethora of coaches. So that's different schemes in which you've had to learn to adjust to. For not only him but his teammates as well. It's tough because I really thought that Lloyd Pierce was. I mean, he was in the younger stages of his coaching career, but I thought he was a phenomenal coach. He just really couldn't get the Hawks to the winning side of things. Then Nate McMillan, as we see, I mean, he was a cat that led the Hawks pretty deep in the playoffs, and a chance to possibly win a championship. And he, had a little bit more of a coaching pedigree, of course, with his time in Indiana and such. But that marriage just didn't work out either. With Coach Quinn, it's still been pretty new. He came in with about 20 games, I'll say, remaining in the season last year. So the team is still really adjusting to his philosophy, both offensively and defensively and such. But I like the direction in which he's taking the team into. I can say that I've seen them stepping up on defense as of recently. We've seen a lot more from them cats defensively, especially Trae Young. I think that's one of the areas of Trae's games that people were saying that he doesn't play defense. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. But he has stepped up his efforts defensively. We've seen him getting more steals on a nightly basis. So I still think a championship is where this team is in this team's future. But when cats like, the Sixers and the Pacers and Boston continuously getting better,
right.
The road to a championship for Atlanta certainly won't be easy.
I agree. So, I mean, as we know, the Hawks, they stood packed. They did what they did. They're going to rock out for the rest of the season with the team that they have. So what you've seen so far, obviously more information will be finalized. I would say within about 10 minutes, everything should be done. Winners and losers, who do you think got significantly better or marginally better? And then who you felt like should have made a move maybe, or did make a move, but it didn't make any sense, that you felt didn't make a good move, essentially.
Initially, just off the top, I like that the Gordon Hayward move. OKC. Well,
OKC,
those cats have been, playing phenomenal basketball as of recently, and I mean they've surprised me. A lot of young talent over there, and I guess we're beginning to see them flourish. So
get a vet like Hayward in there with him as well,
and he can still produce. He can still put numbers up. So I like what they have going on. It seems like Indiana is making a lot of big but small moves. They make a lot of moves. And I was telling a few cats in our media circles the other day, man. Like one gentleman was telling me he feels like no matter what, Boston is coming out of the East. I'm like, it sounds good. Of course, I'm a homer.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's gonna be the Sixers. Even being down here, like cats know, and it's funny. Some of the players, we got the security guards down here, even some of the Hawks brass and stuff. When the Sixers come to town, they're like, we know he's really here tonight. It's like, no, I'm here. But I was telling cats, no, like this is the Sixers. Yeah, they coming out the East, and Embiid once again is going for another MVP campaign. Unfortunate, that he had to get the surgery and stuff. But I'm hoping that with him getting it done now, that he will possibly be able to get healthy and ramp back up for the playoffs. And if that's the case, the move with Buddy Hield, I'm interested to see how that goes. Him and Maxey. Buddy Hield, again, he's in the later part of his career, but I still think he's a great shooter. I don't know where he really stands defensively, and with us losing Pat Bev today, or with the Sixers losing Pat Bev today, that was a tough move right there. But I think Indiana has a chance to really come out of the East if the chips continue to fall how they are. If Embiid doesn't, make it back, and he's at least, I'll say 75%, I would say Indiana. So as it stands right now, I think the moves in which Indiana has been quietly making, and then the move in which OKC made so far have been two of the most exciting for me today.
What do you think about the Boston Celtics? I know, like I said, just wanted to get your take being a homer. I know you said Indiana. Again, like the moves that they did, but not poo-pooing them. You know what I'm saying? Because they're a very good team. But the big dogs. You got Boston, you got Milwaukee, and then even you gotta put them in there right now. You have to. We all know how they do when they get to the playoffs, but you gotta put them in there around. And the Knicks, you already had OG Anunoby, then you go there, and now you sit there. Who did they just sign? Freaking
Bogdan.
Alec Burks and Bogdan Bogdanovic from Detroit. Obviously, the Celtics adding some more front court help with Xavier Howard as well, and then obviously the Bucks. To me, I feel like it's something substantial because they needed the wing defense, and they went out there and got Patrick Beverley. So how do you see those teams stacking up? Do you got any of them, like, since they made this move, that should make them, I guess, the front runner to win this conference? Well, get the number one seed.
I will say, it's funny, and I'm gonna let our audience know this is some good old tea. You know what I'm saying? Some good tea right here. I'm in the man cave, and I couldn't get my little cup in time or whatnot. But the Knicks, as you just mentioned, man, like they made a hell of a move. They made a hell of a move to actually make those acquisitions. And being here, again, being a Philly cat, we grow up like the Knicks and whatnot, and then even covering the Hawks over the last few years, the Hawks and the Knicks have become a bit of a rival. But I gotta tip my hat to the way they're playing right now.
Absolutely.
A Villanova cat, so he got that feeling in him and whatnot. Now he's been playing really, really well. Coach Tibbs is starting to get the best out of those guys defensively and such. And as you mentioned, just adding shooting depth and defensive depth in the East is going to be needed. So I do think that the Knicks are a team to truly watch out for. Boston, Boston is Boston. Like they are one of the better teams in the NBA. Is no disputing that. I love watching Tatum and Brown play. I think both of those young cats have an extremely bright future ahead of them as they continue to flourish in the league. But it's just something right now. Like I feel like we're going to get something from somewhere else. I think like how we expect Boston to be great. I think they'll be great. Don't get me wrong, but I do see a New York, a Indiana. I'm not really buying Doc Rivers in the Buck situation. Like, I'm sorry, Doc.
You gotta show me.
I've seen that too many times. I was applauding when they brought Doc in. Like, come on, we just watched this show in Philly. We know how this is going to turn out. So, more power to y'all, Milwaukee. But I do think New York is looking good. I think Indiana's looking good. And the C's, again, they're going to be what they are. But I don't think they made a huge splash at this trade deadline.
Absolutely. Hey, man, listen, I got more guests popping in here. John Marks just popped into the room. I'll be bringing him up real shortly. But again, just to touch on your point, I do believe the teams got better. I'm with you with the Bucks situation. There's nothing to show me because to me, it's not necessarily about who they got on the floor, even though that plays a factor, but obviously who their coach is right now as well. Because, for what it is, I know it's a short sample size in the first 4 games of him being there. They lost, what it was 1-4 since he been here, something like that. And all of them, and most of them, there was double-digit leads in them as well. So, again, we'll see with that. I do believe that Xavier Tillman is, I would say, somewhat of an underrated move that was like actually a good move. I do believe that was a good move for Boston. Okay. Because I'm not saying why. Yeah, I'm not saying it was he's a exceptional player, but seeing the few games that I've seen him play down in Memphis, when like a guy like Steven Adams is not playing or playing alongside or playing the backup minutes behind Jared Jackson and things of that nature. He showed his versatility. Obviously, he can shoot the ball. He can rebound a bit as well, defend a little bit as well. It's just, I more so think of it at depth, and he got more athletic at the position because I do believe they'll be phasing out a little bit of Al Horford more as the season goes on because, Al Horford is Al Horford. He's older now, so things like that happen throughout the season. You got to get younger because, again, you're not dependent on Porzingis to be just this force in the paint to just lock down the paint as well. So you need someone that's just going to go down there, fight, be gritty, and hit an open shot here and there. And then who else we say? Oh, the Knicks. Again, the Knicks to me, probably the team out of all of them that's just like, I'm watching them. I'm paying attention, because you added like an OG initially, and like that, the team has gotten better defensively. Everything when it comes to that. And then you already got the shooters. You already got Brunson. Even though Randall right now is hurt, you still got Randall that'll be back as well. And then you add another shooter like Bogdanovich, who's, we all know the Knicks need a shooter, essentially like that. They need a shooting. And he is a great, reliable shooter. Obviously not the greatest defender, obviously, and especially he's a little older as well. And then you can also get another guard that can handle the ball, and Alec Burke coming off the bench, who was, I believe, was already there in New York previously. So it's something that he's already familiar with. He knows the system, so it's something they can just get, plug in and play and go. So yeah, man, I feel like it was a good move for the Celtics. More so schematically, I don't like how they play. It's just more ISO ball, shoot the three, and that can get you in trouble essentially like that. But then also the Knicks is just something I'm really looking at and see how the season go on. But since he's here, everybody, and if you don't mind, Terrell, if you want to stay, you can stay with us and enjoy this conversation as well. Who I'm about to bring up to the table right now, our very own John Marks, the former radio host of WIP, Marks and Reese, to the stage. John, what's going on, man?
I prefer retired, not unemployed. Not that you call me unemployed, but I've retired. Now, it might be like Ray Leonard. You remember how many times Ray Leonard retired? So Ray Leonard retired.
You're right. My apologies. The retired John Marks, everybody, man. What's going on? How you doing, man? How you feeling? How's the retired life? How's the family? Everything that's going on with you?
Yeah, happy trade deadline. I got you asked me to do this, and I said it's got to be 4 o'clock. So the parent pickup line, the kids start coming out at 3:37.
Oh man,
so perfect amount of time. I scoop them up. I drive home. I walk down here, and I'm on with you. So it's good timing.
Hey man, well I'm glad you was able to join us, and it didn't hinder too much of your parenting duties that's going on. But since you're here, man, we're just gonna hop right into it. First, I haven't got to talk to you. Obviously, you haven't been on the radio as well. I just want to get your reaction when you heard the news about JoelEmbiid, obviously, when he got injured. Just your initial reaction when that news came out and the severity of it.
Yeah, it was a gut punch for sure. You're hoping this is the year that the same things don't happen, right? And he was playing it. He was playing at such a high level, and he was obviously dominating. And the team looked different this year. I think that's the other thing. And maybe it's just the Sixer fan in me, but you wanted to believe that Nick Nurse is going to be able to unlock some of the mental stuff that the Sixers have struggled with in the playoffs, right? And like that's what they're missing. They're missing that mental edge in the big series where you see other teams that, man, like they take a shot, but they get back up, and the Sixers just haven't been able to get over that hump. So it felt like, and I didn't want to really say it out loud, but it felt like that this was going to be the year. It was like Nick, it felt different. And then Joel goes down with an injury. I'm trying to look at it though, like, all right, they're saying 6 to 8 weeks, and anybody, and who was it that was saying that they didn't think that he was going to be back, or the Dr. David Chow guy, that sports doctor. Yeah, he had said he's skeptical whether JoelEmbiid comes back. Well, obviously, physically he can't do it, right? He can't tear his ACL and play a month later. But JoelEmbiid has shown consistently that he's the one that determines whether or not he's playing. Yeah. And he comes back from injuries and he plays. Even if it's to the detriment of his health, he's going to be back and playing this year. And I think he's going to be back in time to where he's going to be able to get some games under him. And you just hope that they're not playing in play-in games, because that's even less time to come back. So the regular playoffs start on April 20th. If you do a 6 to 8 weeks from right now, I still feel okay about this season. He's not going to come back and be a bad player. He's going to come back and be Joel Embiid. So I'm trying to remain positive on this, but it was a gut punch, AB, without a doubt. It sucked.
So he kind of, in the same lane of boat that I'm in as well. And it might be a little bit of wishful thinking as well, because, when it happened, you talk about gut punch, I just sat there, just looked up to the sky, just like, again, like we back here again, like, and I'm an Embiid defender, supporter, a fan. I'm not, as crazy as how these Philly fans can get, he suck, he trash, things of that nature like that. I don't go that far, because one thing like you did mention that people don't seems to gloss over, we want Embiid to play, but then we don't want him to play when he hurt. It's just like the man's going to play. He fights through injuries. He doesn't do the thing like an AD who, like, if he stubs his pinky toe, he's out for the next 3 months, essentially, like that, stuff like that. So it's like he is going to try to play, and you hit the nail on the head, where it's like if Embiid wants to play, he's going to play. And my biggest thing is I'm glad he got the surgery. He got it now to where it's like it can heal properly. It can be 100%, well, to the best of its ability, obviously. Yeah. It can be. But then if the doctor's sitting saying is healthy, is strong, you can't re-injure it. I heard something today. I would take a 75% to 80% Embiid going into the playoffs, instead of no Embiid at all. And you got the cast that we have right now, and as we'll talk about shortly. I mean, Terrell as well. I'll ask you the same thing. Embiid, hearing the news about Embiid, what was the thinking about it?
Oh man, I think a gut punch is the right term. And John, it's a pleasure to be on here with you. I'm here in Atlanta, but I'm a Philly native, and I check you guys out on WIP on the Odyssey app every day. So
What's up, Terrell?
It's great to meet you. It was a gut punch, and it was disheartening to say because as I was stating with you earlier, I definitely felt like this was the Sixers' year, and it still very much can be. It still is opportunity where it still very much can be, and we can be looking at this later on during the parade and saying that although Embiid got hurt, he was able to get the rest in which he may have needed both mentally and physically to come back and dominate the postseason. It'll be interesting to see what the supporting cast does do while he's out, and how they're able to gel, and the adjustments in which Nick Nurse will make coaching. And will we see a new philosophy? We've seen a lot from the Sixers earlier where they were kind of playing inside out. Now they're going to have to pretty much more play outside in with Maxey and with Buddy Hield. So it'll be fascinating to see where we land. I am hoping that we don't land in a play-in situation, but I'm one as well that I still have a lot of faith that Embiid is going to come back and that he's definitely going to be, as I said, somewhere between that 75 and 80%. I think we'd be foolish to believe he'll be 100% coming back, but I would still take, in this Eastern Conference right here, I still would take a 75 to 80% Joel Embiid with Nick Nurse, who we've seen already lead a team to a championship versus not having him at all.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll add to Embiid coming back, you're right, 75%, 80% of the health of the knee. The one thing I do worry about, and we've seen this with Embiid when he comes back from being out for a couple of weeks or 2 months, is just the kind of shape that he's in, right? Mm-hmm. And it takes him time to ramp up to get, even with I'm sure he'll be like running in the pool or something like that. He's going to be doing his rehab to try to stay in shape, but he's so damn big, so you can't run him out there. It's going to be tough to put him out there. They rely on him so much that to put him out there for 35, 40 minutes a game, pretty much if he comes back and then the playoffs start 2 weeks later, it's going to be tough for him to play that many minutes. So the Sixers, this goes on Nick Nurse, and this goes on his teammates, man. Like you gotta use him when he's in the game. You gotta use him right, but you can't overdo it with him. You can't over rely on him. So that's the one thing I really do worry about. And
I was about to, we'll move on shortly, but that's something I've always, consider is like the usage rate of Joel Embiid is even now, even though he's playing less minutes this year, only about 30 minutes a game, it's still, when you watch the game, you can tell like he's used in every aspect, every moment of the game, defensively, offensively, passing, screen, whatever it might be. So it's like the overuse of such a talent as well, I do think played a part, and that's something they can't necessarily get into, especially coming off of, you talking about 2 months at the least, at the latest, maybe in a couple games, get ready and everything like that, leading into the playoffs. If he comes back within that 6 to 8 week window, essentially like that is something that they have to think about, which that's what made me think about some of the moves that were made today, which I was a little baffled about in some of them. And I'll start with you, John. Obviously, we know the Sixers made some moves today, some understandably, but then some head scratchers. So I'll leave the floor to you. You can start where you want. What about the Sixers trades that stood out to you, rather it be positive or negative?
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing, and I would have been shocked if Daryl Morey would have forfeited the cap space that they had moving forward, because they're clearly poised to make a splash. It's just a matter of who's willing to come here and what they're able to do.
Right. In the offseason.
Yeah. You were able to keep that. You were able to keep the cap space for the offseason and still add a Buddy Hield, who you could re-sign if you wanted to. After you sign, then you can re-sign him. So you'd be able to add him to Maxey and to Embiid. They're the only guaranteed contracts on the team right now. Mm-hmm. Maxey, when he signs, he's not currently signed, but when he signs. And then Paul Reed, depending on how far the Sixers go this year, whether or not that guarantees his contract for next year. So that was very important to me, because let's face it, when you're looking ahead to this year, you don't want to wave the white flag, and you want to position yourself for when Joel Embiid comes back. Absolutely. But you're not going to overdo it like you're going all in. If Embiid was healthy and this team felt like, all right, then maybe you look like it, but that didn't feel like it. So I think Morey did a good job of doing both, of helping your team this year, but also not forfeiting the future. But I will say this, that they must have a lot of confidence in the buyout market that they're going to be able to fill in some of these pieces, because when you saw a couple of moves that were made, you're like, all right, well, there must be 2 more trades coming. And then it's 3:05 and I'm refreshing Woj and whatever. And I'm like, all right, it's done. It's over. Like, no, there's got to be like the facts didn't go through, right? They're still working out the paperwork. So I want to wait. And I think I share a lot of the same sentiments as a lot of Sixers fans out there. I want to wait to see. Maybe it's Dinwiddie. Maybe there's some other guys that are going to be released and bought out, but they have some holes. And I hopefully Daryl Morey knows what he's doing with that.
You just mentioned Buddy Hield, and of course the signing that or the trade for Buddy Hield rather. What do you think about his impact possibly for this season? And if he has a final, I guess a great final second half of the season, do you bring him back? Is that someone who you would like to see back in a Sixer uniform?
Yeah, it's almost like you if you did re-sign him, and you're probably going to pay more than you want to, but I feel like Morey doesn't mind signing these guys to these contracts, because then he just uses them in trades, right? Like, so it'll be like, well, we don't like Buddy Hield anymore, so we'll take this $20 million or whatever he's going to get, and we'll just use that and we'll trade for somebody else. So much in the NBA anymore, it's not even about the player. Like Tobias Harris became valuable when you got to the final year of his contract. Then it became like, ooh, now teams are interested because you can clear cap space, and the Sixers love it because now they can clear that space. Hield's usage this year, and the Pacers have some young players that were getting minutes ahead of him. Hield's usage this year was I think the lowest of his career, or the lowest in a long time. So I think you're going to see that tick up, and you're going to see him taking more threes than he has been taking.
He better
with the Pacers. Yeah, they need it. Like, if you look at what the Sixers and you look at what Daryl Morey wants to do, he was the originator of take too many threes for a team. But you gotta have guys that take threes, and at least Buddy Hield's willing to shoot from whenever. And I like it because at the end of games, he's a legit threat. He's a legit threat that they really didn't have before, to where now, especially with Embiid, kick it out, boom, 3. So I mean, listen, he's got he's shooting a hair under 40% for threes on the season, but he gives you a dynamic that you really didn't have before.
Absolutely. I mean, again, a lot of hair scratchers, but just to talk about the Buddy Hield situation, again, and giving up who they gave up for him, I'm not mad about that. And I want you to touch on that as well, as like the trade packages. Was it too much? Was it just enough? Did it bother you what you gave up for Buddy Hield?
I'm surprised that there wasn't a bigger market on him out there.
Okay.
I mean, because really, you give up expiring contracts and a couple of second-round draft picks, right? So I guess that the market out there was the Pacers didn't want to take on any additional years as well, right? So they didn't want to take back players that were under contract past this season, because they probably want to clear the cap space as well. So there must not have been a big market for them, because not that long ago, Buddy Hield would have been a hot commodity. As it stands right now, you got him for a couple of veteran guys that the Sixers brought in for short term, and a couple of second round draft picks. So no, I was pleasantly surprised they were able to grab him without giving up one. I didn't want to give up one of the first round draft picks.
Agreed.
I'm happy they still have their first round draft picks, because they're important going forward.
Agreed. I absolutely agree. It's the Pat Bev, Jaden Springer, Daniel House, guys like that. Me personally, bit of head scratchers for me. What was your feelings when you seen someone like a Pat Bev, especially, who got traded, and then even someone young like Jaden Springer, who showed he at least had some ability and he had some value, essentially, at least defensively right now. I know he's a little bit of a wrecking ball running around out there, a little running back, but essentially, how did you feel about when those moves came across?
Well, I mean, they're guys that you want to develop, right?
Absolutely.
Jaden Springer. I mean, that's a perfect player for the Celtics. They know how to develop that kind of player. He's a pain in the ass. He's an excellent perimeter defender. It's tough to have him out there in a playoff rotation, obviously, right now, because he's raw offensively. But I was a little bit surprised that, because what they got back for him, you're trading in division. You're trading a team that beat you in the playoffs last year, and you don't really get anything back in return. And that's the move that's made. And you're saying like, all right, well, what's the next shoe to drop? Because you're trading him because you need to create a roster spot, but then they don't do anything for that roster spot. Pat Bev was interesting because I thought one of the reasons they brought him in here. Remember how they needed to get tougher after not last playoff, but the playoff year before.
Yes.
And Embiid was talking about, oh, we need to get tougher, and that's how you ended up with what's his name?
PJ Tucker.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, they talked about PJ Tucker. So you bring PJ Tucker in here because you got to get tougher. Then they get rid of him. You bring Pat Bev in here because you got to get tougher. Then you get rid of him. So I just hope they have enough of those guys on this team. Like, you need a couple guys that are a pain in the ass and don't mind getting a little dirty sometimes. And that was Pat Bev. So yeah, a little bit of a head scratcher with that one too. But listen, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what the buyout market looks like.
And I agree. Again, my biggest thing, we all know Pat Bev isn't the fastest, jump the highest, shoot the best, all that. But I do believe he still have value in other areas, something that we didn't have. We talked about, like you said, culture of the team, the mentality of the team, the maturity of the team. That was the biggest thing, especially when it comes to the Sixers and Joel Embiid. These are the things that we spoke about, and we finally get that. And like you said, whoop, right out the door, just like that. It's just like, hey man, like, we finally get something. And I am a component of our culture. And John, you know this as well. When he even came to the Eagles this year, that's the biggest thing. Culture. And then when you don't have it, you get a season like starting 10-1 and then losing your last, 7 out of the last 8 games, essentially like that. So I do believe something like that is definitely valuable. And then not only that, you trade them to a division rival and we don't get anything else coming back. I'm thinking, like you said, I was the same way you was thinking. Oh, it got to be 2 more moves coming around the corner somewhere, a bench piece for a big or something, and then just to end it. And I know a lot of it is about the buyout, which is like, okay, but it's like, right, is that something we should really be holding on to? Because you're going to have, again, the buyout market is what it is. The buyout market is a bunch of players that either people don't want or people people trying to get away, but you ain't going to have a star. You're not going to have your 6th man of the year. You're not going to have your whoever it is it's just someone that can compliment you. And if Kyle Lowry, that's the name that's being thrown around a lot right now as far as coming in, being your backup, I guess, point guard, it's like Kyle Lowry really, like, I mean, if the Miami Heat couldn't use him, I mean, what more can we do, with the guy who's in his mid-30s now, essentially, like that. And we already got old guys like Batum and stuff like that. Robert Covington still hurt. D'Anthony Melton still not. It's things like that. I felt like we should have did. Going into the trade season, I didn't think it needed to be a splash where it had to be LeBron James coming, but I did believe it needed to be significant. It started out well, Buddy Hield, cool, okay. But then after that, it was just like, that's it. That's it. So yeah. I mean, what about you, Terrell? How'd you feel when it came to those moves happening?
Well, I think, and listening to you gentlemen a moment ago, I think a team we should really keep our eyes on for the next few days are the Charlotte Hornets, because we saw them. They gave up Hayward, they gave up Washington, so clearly they're in a rebuild mode. Of course, LaMelo Ball is an untouchable right there, but they brought over Grant Williams and Seth Curry, and I wonder if they have any plans on any one of those guys and possibly, asking to be bought out or something.
Okay.
And that, I can easily see how you just mentioned, us needing to stay tougher, or the Sixers needing to stay tougher. A guy like Grant Williams would fit in perfectly in a Sixer uniform. And I know that Sixer fans and Sixer brass have been keeping their eye on Seth Curry since he was, initially traded or so. So I really think we should keep our eyes on Charlotte and just see exactly where things unfold with the two cats in which they picked up, in the last hour or so. But I tend to agree with what both of you gentlemen said, because there are still a lot of holes remaining on this Sixer lineup and in this Sixer roster. And when you trade a guy like you let go, to me, in my opinion, the 2 tougher guys on the team are Marcus Morris and Pat Bev. Now, they're both in other uniforms. Marcus Morris was just also traded to the Spurs, and he may be bought out as well. So, he'll end up landing somewhere different in the next few hours or so. But it will be interesting just to see what all Daryl Morey has in store. Are they not waving the white flag, but do they have the yellow flag up, and they're just pretty much waiting to see what will happen?
Yellow flag.
In the offseason. It's almost like playing with house money right now.
Absolutely.
If Embiid comes back and we can get these guys to all kind of coexist and gel and make a strong run, that'll be great. And if not, do you look to, make a big splash in the offseason with the monies that'll be there? I've heard so many things and so many possibilities, from the LeBron James leaving the Lakers and coming to the Sixers. There's so many different possibilities with the monies in which the Sixers will have open. But again, I would really, really keep my eyes on Charlotte and see if any one of those guys are bought out, if Daryl Morey jumps on that, opportunity quickly and brings them over to Philly.
Yeah, I mean, it was like with the James Harden originally when Morey was acting the way he was acting with Ben Simmons. It was he wanted Harden, and it seemed like he already had the answer to the test. He knew that Harden was going to force his way to Philly, right? And it all made sense after the trade, which was he knew the whole time he was getting James Harden. That's why he was acting the way he was acting. That was a mistake to do that. But I kind of get that same feeling with how the trade deadline ended, which was like, hang on, like we're missing something here. So yeah, he's got to have some insight. I'm sure he's been talking to agents for the last week. He's got to have some insights through agents that he's going to get bought out. He's interested in coming to you. The Sixers haven't had a lot of success in that buyout market.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, AB.
No, you're right.
I remember an early Brett Brown year where you had a couple of veteran players that came in that got bought out, but really, because I remember saying this, I don't know how many times at the trade deadline. Oh, well, they'll grab somebody on the buyout market. Like Kyle Korver one year, I'm like, oh, we'll bring Korver back, and like they never end up coming back here. So
I agree that the buyout market has not been very supportive nor good to us. It's like the guys you expect are at the top of the list, the team that can definitely use them. I believe at one time Kelly Olynyk was also one of the ones that was sitting out there for a while as well. Someone we didn't jump on, and he went somewhere else as well. So I'm not sure if that's the route should go either, because again, the history when it comes to that as well isn't good. And I see the big man has spoken as well. He went on Twitter, the big guy himself, JoelEmbiid. Let me see if I can pull it up here. There we go. Lots of people got better. That's fun for competition. I don't know what it means. JoelEmbiid is very.
You gotta decode him sometimes.
Yeah, like that can literally be he's upset, but then it also can mean JoelEmbiid is a competitor. He likes to play. You've seen him jaw and stuff, but let me say the initial thought is just like he has to be sitting there just like the same way we are. Initially, he probably Buddy Hill. Yeah, all right, cool. What we doing next? Then you see what happens, and I know. He was a guy. He was a Pat Bev guy. That's evident as well. He was a Pat Bev guy. So to see someone like that leave as well, we just had a whole given twin, Marcus Morris, the kid is singing downtown. You know what I'm saying? He was all there for that. And then these are the guys you seen he was actually like bonding with, being with, showing. This is the most I've seen JoelEmbiid laugh all year during the season this year. Yeah. So with this team, so to get rid of a lot of those guys, that tweet. I don't know. Hopefully it's positive. Hopefully it's just him just being
doesn't seem too positive. It doesn't say we got better.
A lot, man. Listen. So again, we shall see. But I also look at that as is that a omen or a foresight into the future as far as him feeling positive about his return as well. Because I don't think. As a human being in this state that you're in, you having a great season, your knee goes out, you got to be down. You got to be a bit upset. You got to be a little down. So I don't think, you'll be sitting there tweeting about, something to like this if you're not coming back essentially. So that actually goes to your point that you said earlier that I believe as well, John, is that, if Embiid feels like he can play and the doctor say, hey, your knee is good, it's stable enough to go. The guy's going to go, he's going to play.
And he's going to be back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes when he tweets, then he's like, "Oh, I was tweeting about soccer." So maybe this is a soccer tweet.
Yeah, okay. I ain't see no soccer trades, no free. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't going to see it because I don't follow too much soccer outlets. But again, I didn't see anything to that effect. So I would tend to lean to the other side.
Yeah,
also, they stating that I will get your take on that. Both of y'all essentially that the Sixers top executives are saying that the Sixers going to be strong candidates and they're going to be strongly pursuing someone like PG-13, Paul George down in LA with the Clippers. What do you say to that? Do you think it's necessarily realistic? Obviously, we know was it Steve Ballmer, his name down in LA. That's he has a lot of people to pay. Obviously, Kawhi just got paid. You got to worry about James Harden. You know he want his money. You got a new stadium that's opening up next year as well. So is this a case that PG could be had? And do you think that's something that necessarily can happen in your sight?
I mean, I think that if he wants to leave, the Sixers will have him. For sure. I was doing what a lot of people are doing today. I was like, all right, who are the free agents again? Right? Next season.
Yeah.
Like Maxi's at the top of every list, and he's obviously not going anywhere. So it's like some of the names aren't moving.
Siakam might get re-signed as well, another one.
Yeah, right. And he's one of the top guys. I mean, I don't honestly, I don't know, because I think a lot of what happens with Paul George and the Clippers is gonna depend on what happens this season. Okay. Right? Like do they do what they've been doing in the playoffs and underachieve, right? If they do that, then I don't know why you would bring everybody back. You're doing the same thing over and over again. So I think that is to be determined. Like DeMar DeRozan is a guy that I'm a big fan of, and I've been for a long time. And he just, I know that it's a mid-range game, and that's not how teams like to play. But like having a veteran presence like that, especially with Joel Embiid and Maxey, to me makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's plan D, plan E, plan F, or whatever, but it's not a bad thing to get a veteran like that knows how to score, doesn't have to rely on just chucking up threes, and has been through it as a champion. I would love to see Paul George here. I think he'd be a great fit.
I was about to say, you won't get no argument out of me when it came to Paul George. That's for sure. I would take Paul George in a minute. But again, to your point, I do agree. Someone like DeMar DeRozan, maybe they just wasn't inclined enough to give up assets. Maybe it was asking too much for him. But again, if you could sit here and say that someone like Pascal Siakam can be paired with Joel Embiid, why can't a guy like DeMar DeRozan can't be paired with Joel Embiid? He doesn't need the ball in his hand. We know that. You give him the ball in the elbow, he shoot them, like you said, mid-range assassin. When Embiid is off the floor, you actually, like you said, a veteran on the floor that you know is going to be a bucket getter. You don't have to worry about DeMar DeRozan getting a bucket if he needs to get one, essentially like that. Whereas, as you've seen the past couple games, the Sixers are losing for a reason. They don't have anyone other than Maxey to be able to go create a shot and get a shot. They literally sending 2 to 3 people defending Maxey every play. So get the ball out of his hands. There's nothing else you can do. Then, like you said, if you still added a person like a Buddy Hield, you still got your shooter there, excuse me, as well. So it's definitely something I feel like was something that should have. I want to play something for you guys with Patrick Beverley, as you all probably know already. First of all, Patrick Beverley is dope to me. He announced his own trade. That started there.
On his podcast Twitter, right?
Yeah, on his podcast Twitter. He announced his own trade. I said, wait, what? No one didn't even believe it at first. They said, no, I'm not believing it. Long as we got to wait till Woj or Shams or somebody come up. But I want to play this piece of audio, if it works, to see what you get your thoughts about what he said. Give me 1 second here. See.
Hey, I'm getting traded.
But either way, I'll tell you, he said on his podcast that in Denver, after the Denver game, he seen Daryl Morey in the hallway. Hey, Daryl, I'm getting traded. He like, no, not you. No, not you. No, you're not going anywhere, essentially like that. And we talk about weeks later, he's gone now. So, I mean, I would say this to you guys, is that something leaning towards, is this a James Harden situation, or is this more so just like, I feel like as a GM, what do you say in that situation? Yeah, if the situation is right, yeah, we're going to send you behind out of here too. What else do you say to a player like that? What do you take on Pat Beverley, giving us that story essentially like that?
Yeah, that's Pat Bev for you.
No filter whatsoever.
But his career's over. He's going to do very well for himself in the media. So yeah, and I'm not surprised he broke his own trade.
Trade news, absolutely. He is a brand in his own. But I know we don't have too much time with you, John. So I just want to ask this last thing going forward. The Sixers moving forward, the direction. Let's say this season and the off season, as far as Joel, if he's back, if he's ready to play. Do you play him? Do you sit him? And then also the future of this team. How do you feel going forward when it comes to the future of this team?
Yeah, as long as he's not risking structural damage or anything long term like that. Like if he's I think we all agree that if he's able to play, he's going to come back and play. He's shown that in the past, where he's not going to be like, hey, I got to make sure that I take this conservatively. No, he's going to come back and play. As far as the direction going forward, and I'll just stay with JoelEmbiid, the theme here. It feels like that the relationship between the Sixers and Embiid is pretty stable right now. Because what you worry about is is he now looking at the Sixers, with the side eye, being like, what are these guys doing? I can't trust them. It seems like that Embiid's in a pretty good spot. But you wonder how much longer without winning. And I'll even say get to an Eastern Conference championship. Forget about an NBA title. Let's just advance past the second round. That would even feel great now.
Yes.
Because the more that this happens, and the injury is one thing, but the more that you falter in the playoffs and you lose like you do, and then he looks bad afterwards. Like last year, he was making jokes about Giannis, and it was just that he gets weird with stuff. I think the relationship gets toxic when the city turns on him, if that makes sense. And it's teetered a little bit there the last couple off seasons. You said at the start, AB, this is a tough place to play. And Embiid is an amazing talent. And it would be a damn shame if he ended up leaving Philadelphia and they ended up trading him because he just didn't want to play here anymore. Like this, without getting past the second round, because there's not many players that have come in my lifetime that have come across like JoelEmbiid. As talented as he is, he's certainly in the top, right? And he's too talented to waste. So they got to figure this out, and I'll put that on Daryl Morey, and I'll put that on Joshua Harris as well, the Sixers owner. Figure this to freak out before JoelEmbiid isn't here anymore.
Absolutely. Josh Harris, he's too worried about the Commanders finding figuring that thing out. But again, I appreciate you, John, for joining us for a little bit here to give you insight on the Sixers moves and, different things around the NBA that's been going on. Before you go, let them know what's going on, what you got going on now since, retiring.
Yeah.
From WRP, what's going on?
So I'm trying to figure out this this podcasting stuff like you, AB. So every Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. on my YouTube channel at John Marks Media. It's also on X and Instagram Live. But so I use StreamYard like you, so it goes to all three of them. And I just I don't take myself too seriously. So we have a lot of fun. We talk about the stuff tonight at 9:00. We'll talk about the trade deadline. I'll talk about the 76ers and how you feel about the team, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. And I usually go about an hour and a half. So just look for me on there. Subscribe. We've been doing this for even less than a month now, and it's been really, really good. We've gotten a great response. So 9:00 Monday through Friday. Subscribe at John Marks Media.
Hey, man, y'all heard it here. John Marks Media on YouTube. Make sure y'all go subscribe, like, comment, everything. Some good stuff going on. There's a fun time, especially when you have a guy y'all going to meet. His name is Herb. The funniest guy I ever met in my life, for sure, with the stories that he tell. I was on there just rolling the other day when you had him on there. But again, John, I appreciate you, man. Go spend time with your family. Do whatever else you got to do, man. Love you coming on here. And we'll see you again, man. You're always invited on Open Gym for sure, man. Anytime. And I appreciate you coming through and talking to us for a second.
All right, fellas, hit me up. I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. That was John Marks, everybody. former retired radio host of the show Marks and Reese on WIP 94.1 in Philadelphia. A lot of good information, a lot of good conversation that we had with him, man. What you get out of that when listening to him? His insight. Do you have the same sentiments? Do you feel like, you don't, trust certain things, or you're not on board with certain aspects of what he spoke about when it came to the Sixers and moving forward?
No, I think a lot of what he said was right on the head, and I was very interested in it, and I'll be interested because it'll be an ongoing topic to see just what happens with our Sixers in the next few days as far as that buyout market. I really do think, as I said, we need to keep our eyes on Charlotte. But once the offseason does come around, whether we win the title this year or whether the Sixers win the title this year or not, they do have money to play with. And when you ask the question about Paul George, I don't see the Clippers letting Paul George go. I agree. I really believe that everyone else is expendable on that team except for George and Leonard. I think when they do open that new stadium, that those are two pillars in which the Clippers will have there. I believe we can see Russell Westbrook going. I believe we can see James Harden going again. But I don't see Paul George coming here. So then that opens the question of who comes here. We know Maxey, as both of you gentlemen mentioned, he's looked upon as being the top free agent. I mean, he's not going to be a free agent. He's not going anywhere. He'll be signed probably day one. Number two is Paul George. I don't see him going anywhere. We got Siakam at 3. He's not going anywhere. I think Indiana keeps him alive. Then the next question does LeBron come here? Mm-hmm. And if not a LeBron, do the Sixers start looking to kind of divide that money up and maybe get 2, I'll say free agents or so, like a Klay Thompson will be a free agent, Miles Bridges will be a free agent. So there's so many places in which I believe the Sixers can go. I think that's one of the most fascinating things about what he said. When you mentioned Pat Bev, it was just kind of like, it's a business at the end of the day. Daryl Morey does have to find a way to stop telling cats that they're not being traded, and then he ships them off. That doesn't look good for business. That doesn't look good for business, and that's not going to be encouraging when you're trying to get some of these free agents. It's business, but it has to be some level of trust, or communication at the least. Like, hey, teams are calling me about you, Pat. I don't know, Don't just brush me off and tell me I'm not going to be here. Then I got to ship out and, relocate a few days later. But I think for the most part, everything John said was, again, like head on. It will be interesting to see, where we land, where the Sixers land over the next few days.
Absolutely. I listen, Paul George, come on, Dan. Like I ain't going to even play with it, but I do agree with your sentiment. And he's opening a new arena, everybody. He's opening a new arena.
Billions of dollars.
Yes, like the big screen. Everything about that arena is going to be so high tech, so expensive. Everything about it. So you're not going into a new situation without people who are going to put butts in the seats. And you can't tell me James Harden and Kawhi. Yes, people will still come. Don't get me wrong. But at the same token, if you sit there and say them 3 are coming back, that's a whole different situation. And again, I do believe if anyone is the odd man out, it'll probably be Russell Westbrook for sure. It just is going to be, because they can't pay 4 people unless you're sitting there telling me Russell is coming back for the vet minimum. What I absolutely 100% disagree with. That's not going to happen.
He might at this stage in his career, because it is kind of like, where else are you going to go unless he comes to a Philly? There aren't too many teams that can utilize his service at this point, So it's like eventually he's made enough money, and I don't want to count his pockets at all.
Right.
He may have to take that vet minimum to stay up with a contender.
And I agree, but like again, we all seen the strides he took. He's more compassionate. He's more whatever it might be, but is it that compassionate to where, like you said, we talking about money here? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get it twisted. The game is definitely different. Back in the day, it was about the love of the game, all that stuff like that. Not saying that these guys don't love the game, that they don't like to play the game, but don't get it twisted. This is a business. There's too much money flowing around. These people have lives, families, lives that they want to keep as far as their stand and everything. So if you're sitting there saying Russell Westbrook, okay, Clippers can't pay him, but you got team X over here that's saying, hey, come down here, I got 20 mil for you. I mean, again, unless Westbrook's going to shock the world and be like, no, I'd rather go win a championship. It wavers, and money does talk. We all seen the movie with Chris Tucker. Money talks, baby, regardless. Regardless. Shoot, James Harden let you know that too. He said, oh, you want to pay me? Get me on out of here. They'll pay me too. And they going to re-sign James Harden. They wouldn't have traded him if they wasn't going to re-sign him. They already did Kawhi Leonard. So we'll see. Would I love PG? Absolutely. But like I said, it's the vast free agency list, and this is why a little bit, and we ain't gonna say on the Sixers, we're gonna move on a little bit. This is why I get on the Sixers a little bit about what just happened today. Is because once the free agency list was vast, absolutely going into season, but a lot of these potential free agents that were going to be free agents next year are being traded, and teams don't trade for, I say, the top echelon free agents, I should say. If they aren't sitting there wanting to resign him. So, example, Pascal Siakam in Toronto. He was going to be a free agent this offseason. Indiana didn't trade for Pascal to not resign him. There's no way they're doing that.
Going nowhere.
OG from Toronto who went to New York. He didn't get traded to not get re-signed in New York, especially the impact he had on that team. So, a lot of these players that you've seen that were going into free agency aren't going to be in free agency no more. The only person left is the two big guys. And I think AD as well, I believe. I think he's coming up as well. But either way, Paul George, James Harden, stuff like that. So a lot of these guys either going to stay with their teams or the teams that they traded to, they're going to re-sign with them. So that list that was vast, it's gotten very short when it comes to that max slot that you want to fill when it comes to this team. So you're going to, like you said, you might be going into the offseason just getting multiple pieces now because you might get good players, level player B, but the level player A's aren't there too much anymore, essentially like that. So I definitely something to look forward to going forward when it comes to that team, man. So that was great stuff talking to John. Glad he stepped in here with us and talked about stuff like that. We're gonna go run through these. I do got some questions for you about the All-Star weekend as well, since we're here. That was the big topics as well as weekend. I just wanted to look over some of these last minute trade information, but while I pull that up, let me see here. We got some comments here. Let's see who we talking. We got, man, we traded Pappy. See, I feel like that's the sentiment of of the whole fan base right now is the fact that that was a little bit of a shocker. Pat Bev definitely was a fan favorite, definitely was someone they felt we could build with essentially here. So I'm definitely a little shocked by that when it comes to that. What else do we have here? There we made moves. So we have a comment right here. Daryl Morey made moves like he knows Joel isn't coming back and he just wanted to dump people. What do you say to that? I mean, I don't necessarily agree with it. But before I get into it, I want to hear your thoughts. Is that something you can rock with or that you can believe essentially with what being made or can make an argument for essentially?
No, I mean, he this gentleman has this person, I don't want to say gentleman, they have a fair point, because it seems a little funny. And even after the cryptic tweet that you mentioned a moment ago from Joel, like we know Joel well enough to know that he's a very intelligent man. So when he's very scripted as well. He's not just going to throw anything out there. And the words in which he didn't use really much, stood out to me. Teams got better. There was no we got better.
Right.
We got better. Right. The Sixers got better. My brothers got better. None of that. So I'm not one to believe that Joel is going anywhere. I don't believe he's going anywhere. I think he's going to retire a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. I think he loves playing here, win, lose, or draw. I do know that, as John mentioned, sometimes with Philadelphia fans, it's a love-hate thing with them and Joel.
Mm-hmm.
But just for, alone, him standing the test of time with the process and trusting the process, I don't think Joel is going anywhere. I do still believe that Daryl Morey, he's another one. Like he hears the rumblings across the leagues from other general managers and players, or like, can he get it done? You mentioned like he was the originator of shoot the three. They weren't able to find success with that in Houston. So I think those two out of any two in that organization are on the same page. I do think at times, there are moments when players and brass, they have their differences and such, but I'm not one to believe Joel's going anywhere. And I think that he did make some moves. He dumped some contracts, but I think that was more so just to kind of tighten up for the postseason and to get an early start on this upcoming offseason.
Yeah, I agree. He's not leaving nowhere. And also, even if you want to take it a step further about this particular season moving forward, I do believe they do have a realistic optimism, I would say, when it comes to his return this season. They reevaluated it in 4 weeks to see where is at. It would explain a lot more, but I do believe they have that optimism, and that's how I look at the trades. I look at it as them bolstering the team, or trying to, at least, because we don't know what's going on after this with the buyout, but bolstering the team to when he comes back, he has something to play with, essentially, like that, or people to play with, essentially, like that, to make it less. Because again, Buddy Hield not only is right now, that's also a future move as well. You can re-sign Buddy Hield to, like I say, a three-year deal, so you got your shooter for the next 3 years, essentially, like that. Tobias Harris, he's still here when JoelEmbiid come back. Again, I'm not mad at Tobias for taking the money. If they want to give me $180 million, thank you. I give you my 5 points and keep it moving. But at the same token, I'm not oblivious to the fact that he is a professional. He can give you value. Now, if you're sitting here talking about he wants to come back on a cheaper deal next year, I'm not necessarily against that at all. Yes, absolutely. You're just not getting another $180 million. Those days are over, my friend. Those days are absolutely over. Let me see. Got one more. Let me get one more and keep moving. One on the buyout situation. Ilyasova and Bellinelli have been the only good additions on the buyout. Let me see. I would say, yeah, probably the best buyout candidates that we had. Being a Sixers fan, because that year, Brett Brown, Bellinelli, I guess. And that's sad. that goes to the point. That goes to the point of earlier, as far as like we ain't have the greatest of success of getting the top echelon of buyout candidates. So now we got something like that's going on when it comes to that. Let's see, let's move on. So look, we all know 2/8/24. You know what today is. Kobe Day, the Mamba. What you got to say? I know you said you wanted to talk about this particular subject, essentially, the Mamba, who he is, whatever you want to. I'll work off you, whatever you trying to do.
Yeah, today, and thank you, man. Today is a special day. So since the passing of Kobe Bryant, is something that still just kind of like, even saying it just like hits my heart and soul. The NBA, his wife Vanessa, the Lakers have just found phenomenal ways to honor that man, his legacy, and all that. Not only he's contributed to the game of basketball, that he's contributed to women's basketball, and which he's contributed, to keeping the Laker franchise as being one of the best known and most well-respected franchises in all of sports worldwide. So for the last few years, it's been 8/24 has been looked upon as Kobe Day. August 24th has been looked upon as Kobe Day. But today is very special, as you mentioned, because it's 2/8/24. His daughter Gigi, who unfortunately passed away as well, she wore number 2. And we know that Kobe wore number 8 and wore number 24. So tonight, before the Lakers, they take on the Denver Nuggets tonight. That should be a really great matchup this evening. The Lakers are going to unveil Kobe's statue.
Oh, okay.
Kobe, he'll become just the 7th Laker to have a statue. This will be outside of the Crypto.com arena, right in Star Plaza, where they have a few other statues. You had a like of Elgin Baylor, Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jerry Rice, Magic, and Chick Hearn, who was an announcer with the Sixers. Kobe will be, with the Lakers. Kobe will be number 7 right there. So I think that's extraordinary. I'm looking forward to see exactly how they capture this statue. Is it a fade away from Kobe? Is it him dunking a ball? what exactly will it look like. I'm have to get out there at some point and actually see it in person and whatnot. But I just again I commend the Lakers for taking this opportunity. They've been waiting for this day for a long time. They wanted it to be on 2/8/24, so they didn't do it last year or such. But it will go down tonight. I do believe like TNT will be showing it.
Absolutely.
It'll start taking place about 6 p.m. Eastern. They'll start doing the actual ceremony. So basketball fans, when you get done watching this right here, when you wrap up, you can change over and see exactly what the Kobe statue will look like. But I'm fascinated. If it was you and you created the statue and this is this is something that will live on forever. How would you have Kobe dunking? Would it be a fadeaway? Would it be how he used to give out the
yeah.
How would you have? I got a little assistant in here right now. My son running around with me. He's gotta be this.
Oh dang! Wow, that's a lot. Oh man, because I was about to ask you, but then when you started, man, it's so many ways you can go. Like you said, what is MJ's right now? His is the dunk, right? I believe MJ is the dunk.
Let me see. Is it the dunk or is it the fadeaway and whatnot? Like it's him dunking on somebody. It's like him dunking on somebody, right? I believe
so. I believe so. Let me see. I'm gonna pull that right now. Cause it is the dunking on somebody and it is the jump man sign.
Okay, that's okay.
So in that case, but you just brought up a good point. For me, I'll give you two things that I like. Obviously, the fade.
Okay.
You can go fade. That'd be easy. Dirk got a fade out there. Jordan did it as well. But you made up a good point. And I feel like that probably, for me, that would probably be tough. I would definitely, the shirt in the mouth. 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 And you can even add either the shirt or the fist bump. Those are my two right there. When he hit the I believe it's the game winner. We turned around and did the Tiger Woods, fist bump. I can take Tiger. Yeah. So you bringing up a lot. You bringing up a lot.
Kobe, my man, dog. Like that.
Cause that was crazy too. Yeah. You know what? That's it. That's it. Yeah, I'm with it. How about you? What you feel? That's what you leaning towards?
Yeah, I'm going with the heart joint.
Okay.
To me, I like what my son said about the biting of the jersey. I think that was kind of iconic and whatnot. But
absolutely.
When Kobe, pulled his jersey to the side and symbolized, heart. Like that's something that I feel like when we think about the Black Mamba and Mamba mentality and such, like that's one of the things in which it was about being tough in your mind, being tough in your heart and such. So I'm going with that moment right there. I think it meant so much for him too to win a championship as the lead guy. Of course it takes a team effort in any sport, unless you're like playing golf or tennis or something. But even then, you got your caddies and your coach. It's a team effort to win in life and whatnot. But I think when Kobe finally won one without Shaq and was able to show, prove to himself in the basketball world that I got this, and he did that, I'm going with the heart. I'm going with that one right there. So that would be mine for sure.
That's a good one. Listen, that'll be dope. That'll be a statue I have to, like you say, get out there, get in front of, take a picture with, because that's fire. I do agree. I like that a lot. Even we all know it's not. It'll probably be some type of move, maybe the fade away, probably, or some type of dunk or something like that. But if they get interesting and do something like that of just one of his iconic poses or whatever like that he did, I would definitely appreciate something like that. Since we talk about Kobe, what's your favorite memory of it? Rather it's in person, TV, a game, like what's your one of your because we have a lot of memories, but one of your favorite memories of Kobe Bryant?
So I'm biased, like you said, is it in person and whatnot, and like starting off in my young media days during Kobe's farewell tour. I was actually able to interview Kobe out here when he came. They played the Hawks and whatnot.
Okay.
And during his interview, I spoke to him about what he would miss most about the game of basketball. And he spoke on, he was so in depth. He spoke on missing hearing the dribble every day, just the smell of the basketball, the camaraderie and such. And to me, it was heartbreaking watching that interview after hearing that he passed away. Like I remember where I was when we got the news he passed away and such. And listening to that audio and to that interview now, it means so much more because we're missing him in the similar likes in which he mentioned to me. He would miss the game of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have to be that moment for myself, actually being like that close to Kobe and having the opportunity to speak with him and such. But outside of that, it would have to be the 81-point night and such. Like I remember that night too. Like I fell asleep early and I start getting all these text messages like, "Are you watching the game? You watching the game?" And I wasn't. I missed the first 2 quarters. I missed up until halftime. So I woke up and I'm like, what is like? At first I thought it was a family emergency. I had about 60 text messages, bro, and I couldn't believe it.
What's going on?
I couldn't believe it, but it was folks asking me while watching the game. So then I actually like turning on League Pass and watching Kobe go to work. Sadly, on Jalen Rose, he was going to work on everybody in a rap.
He gotta live with that forever.
81 olives and whatnot. That Kobe commercial right there with Jalen when he tells him, "Let me get 81 olives." That's hilarious. But it had to be those moments. Actually having an opportunity to speak with Kobe about what he would miss about the game, and then actually like watching him drop 81 points. That was just phenomenal. How about you? What's your favorite Kobe moment?
So I got 2. One on court, and one something that ain't really got nothing to do with necessarily basketball, but I just thought it was just a cool moment and it showed his human side essentially. So obviously on court was obviously during his farewell tour as well, as you've spoken about. Obviously when he came back, I was at the game. Obviously, the whole narrative was obviously them being mad at him and everything, him being from here with the Lakers, X, Y, Z, stuff like that. But just the love and appreciation that it was more of a Lakers game. I'm gonna be real with you. That game when he came to Philly during his farewell situation, it was a Lakers game because everyone knew this was the last time you would see Kobe being Bryant, and I just love the fact that everyone took the moment to appreciate him, and then even him letting us know, like, listen, yo, like that really hurt me when I was here, and y'all started talking crazy about me. Like it wasn't my fault. Like that's the team that drafted me and everything like that. So to see him perform, and I believe he had about like 30 points that night. I gotta look it up, but again, he had a good game. But overall, the experience, because it was my first time seeing Kobe play as well. So for me, it was like surreal seeing Kobe, the moment that it was in, and being able to be there to see it, you know what I'm saying? Just like the whole AI situation when he retired, I was actually able to see that retirement situation. And then the second thing was something real small, but when the Eagles were going on their Super Bowl run, and he did the video when he was like, Eagles X, Y, Z, he had the Eagles jersey on, fly Eagles fly like that. And this is a football town, so that was like. We gonna win. Kobe just sat here and gave us good luck, and then obviously the video came out when Brandon Graham, when the last pass to Tom Brady, and they dropped in the ground, and you see him in the room with his kids and stuff like that, cheering them on like we effing won, we effing won. Like he's saying we. It's just like, oh, all right, yeah, you one of us. So those 2 moments to me, I like, and again, I'm only a certain age, so I didn't see in-depth Kobe play because I was young. I was into other things running around outside. But again, when I was able to comprehend and see and actually understand and appreciate the game, and those 2 things really stand out to me when it comes to Kobe, man. So, rest in peace, Kobe. Obviously, rest in peace, Gigi, and all the ones that were on that flight. Obviously, that was a sad day. I was just getting out of church, and that was just like, whoa, I didn't even believe it. You talking about refreshing. I was refreshing every day, every 20 seconds, essentially like that. See, but again, Kobe, man, Kobe being Bryant. Obviously, I hate the fact that he was more appreciated once he left. Essentially, obviously you win the game, you're not gonna root for a guy, but at the same time, like people really thought like he was a bad guy or bad at sports. It's like y'all are crazy. This man is probably one of, for sure, with me, top 5 players of all time for sure. That's within when it comes to me. So it looked like Spencer Dinwiddie looked like he's gonna be bored out. Looks like the Lakers are closing in on getting Spencer Dinwiddie. Real quick, the Lakers, how you feel about them not doing anything at all? Knowing that they need shooting for one. That's another team that needs shooting. But for them not doing anything at all at the trade deadline, how do you feel about them? And then even possibly honing in on grabbing Spencer Dinwiddie. What do you think about that?
Well, I'll answer your last question first. I think Dinwiddie would be a good acquisition for them. I don't know what that says to the play of like D'Angelo Russell, who we've seen turn up as of recently, but I'm a big fan of Dinwiddie. I think he has a real old school type of game, plays defense, high basketball IQ, can shoot from anywhere on the court. And he's one that he'll get in the paint too. He'll drive and get into the paint. So I'll be interested. I know you mentioned that he may be someone to look out for. I wish the Sixers would have had a chance to maybe go ahead and grab him.
Grab someone, yeah. Instead of someone like Kyle. See, we just said it. The buyout market right there. You got someone like Spencer Dinwiddie that's about to hit the buyout market, and you thinking about Kyle Lowry because that was another thing. But go ahead.
As far as the Lakers, I mean, they tried. They tried to make some moves. I know they were really here in Atlanta's ear trying to get DeJounte Murray. I think that there were teams out there that weren't really fascinated in which their offers. Like folks don't want Austin Reed. Like folks don't want D'Angelo Russell. So the packages and what
and all those guys
and what they were asking for in return just didn't make sense, I think, to a lot of franchises. So I'm not really surprised that they weren't able to make moves. I don't think it was a lack of them not trying, because I do believe they were trying to make moves out here. I just think they didn't really have anything to offer that was really substantial for a team to go ahead and pull the trigger. So there'll be a team that'll be interested. We spoke a lot about the Sixers and what they'll possibly do this upcoming offseason, but the Lakers have some decisions to make as well, because LeBron will be a free agent. D'Angelo Russell will be a free agent. AD just recently got signed, but his contract, or just recently got an extension not too long ago.
Yeah, you're right.
But it may be time to maybe restructure that deal or something like that. But I think the Lakers know deep down inside they won the play-in tournament. The NBA gifted them that one right there. Phoenix should have won that game, in my opinion. There was a lot of no calls in that Phoenix Lakers game that even got the Lakers to that in-season championship. But they got the in-season chip. I think they know, like, that when it comes down to the come down, they're not beating the Clippers. They're not beating the Suns in a 7-game shoot. I don't know if they're beating OKC or the Timberwolves in a 7-game series on where things stand right now. So I think they'll try to remain competitive, because at the end of the day, they do have LeBron, and anything is possible with that cat on your team. But I don't see them, making any moves or doing anything that would have brought another championship to Titletown anytime soon.
All right, so we're gonna pivot a little bit. We're gonna get back to this trade stuff, because there's still information about it. The buyout market situation is definitely rolling right now on Twitter. So I'll get some information with that. But All-Star Weekend is approaching. A lot of the lineups are set. Obviously, you know who the teams were. All-Star game. You have the 3-point contest, which was kind of strange. Maxey was a part of it at first, but then got shipped out, because now your guy is in there as well. Now Trae Young as well. He's in the 3-point contest, skills competition, the slam dunk contest. So that's what I'm gonna start there. Slam dunk. It's a big discussion. It's a big conversation. How do we make it better? How do we get people to want to participate? People to actually be, invested in it, because obviously 3-point contest has taken over the All-Star Weekend now. What are your thoughts? What can they do to either get more people to participate as well, but then also just make it more enjoyable, essentially, like the good old days?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, because I feel like each year the slam dunk contest just gets worse and worse and worse. And that's sad, because there are cats out there, like, that's no knock to the competitors in which we've seen actually get out there, try to display their skills. But we see highlights, and we've seen post slam dunk contests when you had the best of the best out there. You had the MJs, you had the Dominique Wilkins, you've had the Kobe Bryants, you've had the Dwight Howards, you've had the Vince Carters, you've had guys who were at the peak of their NBA careers, and they went out there and competed in this contest, and we just don't have that anymore right now. I saw some of the guys that'll be in the competition this year, and it's just like the names. And again, this is no disrespect to those gentlemen, but no names that really stand out that would have me say, okay, let me stop what I'm doing, and all right, let me go ahead and get this chicken.
Yeah.
So slam dunk competition. It's like, no, I'm not. It doesn't move me. We see Topton will be in it. Jaylen Brown will be in it. Jamie Jaquez from the Heat will be in it. Mac will be back in it. He won it, of course, as a member of the Blue Coats and the Sixers and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe he's a fascinating name to see, if Matt can once again win the slam dunk contest. But nah, I don't know what the NBA has to do. Do they got to offer $1 million? Do they have to get the Sprite or somebody got to come off of $1 million, $2 million to really get some prime talent out there? Because for me, like, the 3-point contest has been a lot more entertaining over the past few seasons than the slam dunk competition.
So how do you get him there? Like, and salute Jaylen Brown. I appreciate him stepping up this year, jumping into it. Like I said, of course, it's Jaylen Brown. He's a star in his league, a young star in his league. He got bounce. He can dunk. I'm not saying he's the most creative dunker. We will see. But how do you get players of his ilk to be in it? Is it a money thing? Is it Like, how do you get them?
I think it's definitely a money thing. Like NBA, I know Sprite does a lot of like sponsoring the slam dunk contest. That's what I'm saying. They got to come out and hey, the winner gets $1 million or $2 million or something like that, because it has to be some type of incentive where these guys really want to participate. It's two things. Like, for a lot of players, and I do kind of respect it. To some, All-Star break is a chance to rest and relax. That might be time for them to spend some time, a week or so with their family, or to get away and go see parents, or so everyone doesn't take that time off and necessarily go to whatever cities are hosting the All-Star games and party and celebrate and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Some guys really do look at that as an opportunity to, like, okay, I've been going hard for these past 3-4 months. Let me rest my body. Let me, again, catch up on some family time. I haven't seen my wife on the everyday night. Like, so some guys take that time to do things for themselves personally. So I think it has to be a higher incentive to where as though guys are like, all right, let me come out there on Saturday night, especially if they're not participating. I do feel like there's some of the guys who are already out there and participating, and you're a star already. Come on, get out there and give us fans and media and just the game of basketball in general. Like, give it a little bit of something. We see cats doing that, and again in the 3-point contest, Steph Curry is one of the greatest shooters to ever play the game. He's out there still year after year participating in the 3-point contest. So I would love to see that from some of these high flyers. But again, I as you said it best earlier too, like, money talks. Money talks. I think that goes across the board for these contract negotiations. For these for the sponsorships and such, but also to get some of these guys to participate in some of these games and more specifically into the dunk competition. I would have to say you got to come up off some money. Got to come up off some money.
Any a favorite?
I'm gonna go with Matt just because
the reigning champ.
he once represented Philly. Jaylen Brown is my man though. I like Jaylen a lot. I am interested to see what type of tricks he got up his sleeve. But I think Mac is already going to be a favorite to some, just with him being a guard. The whole white man can't jump thing, and him getting out there and really putting on the show. So I think that he's going to be a favorite, and I think he got some tricks up his sleeve. So I'm gonna go with Mac and whatnot. Who would you see, as a favorite in your eyes?
Dunk contest. I have no clue. I mean, just looking at the list, like I said, I believe was that Opie Toppin, his brother, is in there as well. Mac, like you said, Mac is there. Jaylen Brown. I forgot the fourth guy. I was trying to look for it quickly, but either way, I'm not too well versed in the other people. Like I said, Mac was there last year. Jaylen Brown. So if I had to just guess, it'll probably be Toppin brother because it's just someone's different, or maybe Mac. I said he's the defending champ, essentially like that. So that's something that I look at, because I'm not gonna lie. Once the 3-point contest is done, I'm pretty much, I'm out of there essentially. I might watch like the All-Star game, like the format at the end, because I'm a big TBT guy. I was watching that during the summertime when the basketball. I like that format of like the first to whatever the number is, essentially like that. Take you back to the streets, to the hood when you're in the joint. Game to 21, let's get it. Win by 2 type situation. So stuff like that, I like. It brings it out of you essentially like that. So I definitely I feel that. But other than that, I don't know. I'm just looking for hopefully excitement. Maybe these other guys do something that really just wows us. But I think there still will probably be not had a wow factor because it's not a person. So if a person that you know, a notable person, a star, because if they do something crazy, it would be 10 times magnified if it's someone like Zion. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. So stuff like that I'm looking at as well. And, you know, I appreciate you hopping on there before you get out of here. Just 3-point contest. We already know you got Malik Beasley, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, Lillard, Dame Lillard, Larry Marketing, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, Trae Young. Who you got? And don't be a homer.
You took the words out of my mouth. You know I'm biased, man. You know I'm getting
Ice Train again. Ice Train again.
I'm going Ice Train. I think, he was slighted initially. He, in my opinion, getting to see this guy on a nightly basis and such, like the guy can score the basketball, he can distribute the basketball. I felt like he really should have been an all-star starter. I know that the Hawks don't have the best record in the NBA, but when you look at the fan voting, he was second. He was above Dame Lillard, who actually is a starter, and fan voting and such, and he's putting up better numbers than Dame this year. I get that Dame is on a winning team, so no slight there, but I felt Trae should have been an all-star starter. I feel like he's going to come out to Saturday night, looking to show the world exactly who he is. So I'm gonna go with Trae, but if I had to take a second, I'm gonna go with Halliburton. I think Halliburton might get out there and put on the show as well. But
with the funky form,
that's crazy. Like he got the old Lonzo Ball shot, knocking that thing down. So I'm gonna go with Trae. I'm gonna go with Halliburton, and I wouldn't be surprised if Dame if he found a way to
win it.
Those would be the three in which I see. How about yourself?
Because this like again, we all know this is the star-studded situation. It's a lot of guys on there. We know Cat won last year, so you know he's gonna come and try to do that again. So my favorite, if I was to go into it, I'm gonna go Dame.
Okay.
Dark horse, Larry Marketing.
Ooh.
Larry Marketing, the big guy. Instead of Cat, I'm gonna go to the other big guy who's been having a great year this year. Larry Marketing's been shooting the 3 out of his mind this year. He's been playing overall this year. So I'm gonna go dark horse and Larry Marketing. Larry Marketing is my dark horse.
I respect the heck out of that.
And before you go, like I said, you already mentioned one. You felt like Trae was a snub when it comes to the All-Star. West Side, you feel, or again, if you got another person on the East as well. But who else you felt like was a snub, rather it be a starter or becoming a reserve?
Yeah, I don't really know if this is much of a snub because I feel like maybe we just didn't see enough of him. But I thought Wembley was going to get a chance to be an All-Star in his rookie campaign. When we do get to see that young cat play, he looks like he has the potential to really be a star in this league. I know that Doc is Coach Pop has been pretty much monitoring his minutes and such. Doctors don't want him out there too much. And he continued to build his NBA body, and he had a few minor injuries to begin the year and such. But to me, outside of Wembley, maybe Zion, just because he is, he's Zion Williamson, and I have seen the Pelicans. They're getting better each week. They're starting to look like they're could possibly make some noise and make a playoff push. So I would have to say those two cats. Outside of Trae, it would be Wembley or Zion for me.
Right. Okay. I'm pretty content. I don't think about. Eventually, obviously, Brunson was someone I thought about, but obviously he got in there early on because that was Spark talked about. Trae Young, definitely someone that could have been as well. I didn't probably necessarily think he should have been a starter per se, but he should have been on the team for sure. As far as the year that he had this year, essentially like that, I do believe that's someone that as well. But other than that, I feel like they got it. It's pretty solid this year. I don't have a lot of major complaints as far as who got snubbed or who didn't make it. And obviously, you can argue a lot of different players when it comes to numbers, but we all know the NBA nowadays, the numbers are so inflated. Everybody's going to look like they're I mean, look at Tobias the other year. I'm an all-star player because he was averaging 20 points. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? So like the numbers, you can always argue numbers and stuff who deserve it, don't go. But I feel like this year is pretty solid as far as who was selected to that joint. But again, Terrell, man, I appreciate you for hopping on again, everybody. Make sure you guys follow this man and everything he's do. These Urban Times is the site. He does everything, covers the Hawks, entertainment, music, media, everything about him. He does great work. Make sure you check him out. Let him know where to find you at, where you at, give all your information out. You know how to do the thing.
Man, once again, thank you so much, for allowing me to join you. I enjoy talking sports with you, good brother. It's always a pleasure to sit and chat with you. You can check me out at These Urban Times. You can also check me out personally at Eldorado 2452. I'm out here, as you mentioned, covering the Hawks, covering the NBA, covering an assortment of things. So check me out. Continue to support this brother. And I look forward to speaking with you again real soon, man.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for hopping on. We should talk real soon, man. I got a lot to talk to you about. I'll be down at ATL soon, though, too. I'll be down there. I want to say March. I'll be down there in March. So I'll hit you up. I'll let you know.
Have a good time. Right?
I got you.
We'll try some of the wings of Magic City. All right?
Hey, man, listen. I try to get in trouble like Lou, man. Let's make sure everything is straight. I appreciate it, though, man. I'll be talking to you soon, man.
All right, much love. Have a great
Yes,
one.
sir. Again, man, that's my guy Terrell, NBA cover. He covers the Hawks, the whole scene down in Atlanta, man. Oh, look who's in the room. Look who's in the room. This was one of my co-hosts that was supposed to be here this afternoon, but life happens. People are as a new dad. He's busy writing, covering. Obviously, he writes for Philly Sports Network as well. So he was actually working as well. So I'm just messing around with him. He's working. He had to make sure the articles and stuff was done as far as all the things that happened with the Sixers and the trade deadline. So I want to welcome to the stage right now, to the show right now, my guy, Justin Crosby. Crosby, man, what's going on, guy? What's good?
What's going on, bro? Glad to be here. I'm glad I actually made it.
You good, man. I appreciate you for still making time, even though I know things got a little hectic today. Listen, I understand, so you ain't got to even explain to me how things go, whether it be family, whether it be work, whatever it is. So I get it, man. The shows goes on, but again, you're here. Obviously, like I said, everyone, this is Justin. He covers the 76ers. He was actually just down there last night. When they played who they played last night?
Golden State.
Golden State. It was Stephen. Yeah. Got shellacked. Yeah, so does a lot of great writing work for them. Make sure you check them out. Please check them out as well. His work covering the Sixers. I know they probably got a host of articles out right now. Yep. Excuse me. So on Twitter, as you see that name on the screen, make sure you check his Twitter out. Check the website out. That's Philly Sports Network, right? I said that right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Philly Sports Network. Make sure you check everything else out. You still doing the podcast and everything, right?
Yeah. We're gonna do
check the podcast, everything you got going on. Make sure I check it out. But since he's here, and I know this has been a theme, we're gonna stay on the theme. Because he does cover the Sixers, so we definitely going to hit Sixers, and we definitely going to go around the NBA as well as far as contenders and things of that nature. So, Justin, we spoke a lot. I had Terrell on here, I had John Marks on here, and pretty soon, within I would say 10 to 15 minutes, we should have Scoop B on here as well. They all gave their opinions. What's going on in the NBA right now, but since you, like I said, cover the Sixers, we're going to start there first and we're going to move around. Initial thoughts, moves that wasn't made, I'm going to let you have the floor, you know what I mean, and let us know what you're feeling.
Yeah, I'm legit still thinking about how I necessarily feel about the moves. And it's just because, all right, I will say this, because I'm not fully thinking about every aspect of every move that they made. But my one disappointment from this deadline is, and Buddy Hield was a great pickup. I'm really good. But my one disappointment is not getting another big.
Okay.
And I know there were talks about them getting Andre Drummond. They were linked to Kelly Olynyk. Kelly Olynyk got traded to the Raptors, which was weird. I don't even know what side Ujiri is doing over there. Like I don't even know what he's trying to do over there. But maybe he's trying to get a stretch big because they got
tank. That's what it looked like to me. But go ahead.
I'm like, they're not contending. I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. But like not getting Drummond or not pulling the trigger, and who knows what the real price is. Hopefully somebody be able to provide the price. But I mean, like, let's be real. Like Paul Reed is overextended in his role as a starter.
Agreed.
And I'm saying that with the utmost respect because I'll be seeing these guys and I'll be down there, but he's just overextended. And he might have and Mo Bamba as well. Like they're just both overextended in their roles right now. And they're showing with rim protection, with rebounding, on offense, like they just needed somebody else that was more reliable. And I think that the move that should have been made is they should have been able to get Drummond. But again, we'll see what the price is. Apparently, Chicago's vice president and GM, he was just trying to hold everybody hostage to a certain number. And that's probably why nobody got traded on Chicago, right? DeMar was rumored to be, have some suitors. Caruso, of course, Drummond, nobody wanted Levine. So it's just like, I don't know what they're doing over there in Chicago. And it may not have even been Daryl's fault. It could have been just Chicago being scared to pull the trigger. Even though it's been reported that ownership gave the GM the okay to start a rebuild because they're just a middling team, right? With no real championship aspirations. So I don't know. It could have been just Chicago not pulling a trigger, but I think that was a disappointment not being able to get a real reliable big. I think we've of course seen how important Embiid is to this team, but like Paul Reed playing 16 minutes a game and is much more different than him playing 28 minutes a game. And you can see the difference. So I don't know. Nobody's really available on a buyout that makes sense right now. I mean, Robin Lopez got waived, but he doesn't move the needle or is better than either of those two, not an upgrade. So I don't know. That was just like a little bit of the disappointment for me from the standpoint. But the rest of the stuff, it is what it is. Buddy Hield was a good move. They needed some gravity, some shooting, some knockdown shooting, some quick trigger shooting. Like nobody on the team right now besides Maxey is a quick trigger, besides maybe Oubre, and he's not the guy you really want to have the quick trigger, honestly. But he has to be right now because they have so many people out of the lineup. I think he's going to make a difference right now for sure, offensively. Defensively, I mean, it's whatever. We already know Buddy Hield's not a defensive player, but offensively, I think he'll make a difference for sure. And then, catching what caught everybody by surprise was the Pat Bev move and then the Jaden Springer move, trading both those guys for second-round picks. Caught everybody off guard. And, like, I don't know anybody who expected those guys to be traded, let alone Pat Bev. And then to rivals in the East, too. That was different. But I don't know what Moore has up his sleeve. I guess they're all trying to make room, like even the Daniel House stuff. I guess they're trying to make room for the buyout guys. They've been linked to Kyle Lowry. So if he's truly bought out by Charlotte, maybe he does really come here. And then if you really look at it, like Pat Bev might not have played anyway, right? Like if you look at your guard lineup, it was going to be Maxey, Melton, Hield, and Kyle Lowry. So I guess he wouldn't have played anyway, maybe. So you get a second-round pick for him, but I don't have a grade in my head. I don't have a ultimate like, oh, I feel like they won today or whatever. I just think that they got a little bit better and just move some stuff around to save some money. Like that's really it.
My bad. My bad. Everybody was muted. I was letting my man get his spill out, getting everything going out. But yeah. So I agree with you. I think you feel like everyone else as a fan, as far as, a little taken back as far as like, whoa, like Pat Bev, stuff like that. Because it was cool when Buddy, then what was given up. I don't think anyone necessarily has a argument about what was given up for Buddy Hield. I would think you would agree with that as well. So that was cool. Then you had the Dame House situation. It's like, all right, clearing some space is cool, But then when Pat came and then the compound that with Jaden Springer, I do believe it's like, okay, now what's going on? Like, what's the goal? What are you trying to do? I know you probably was sitting there the same way, like, all right, gotta be a bigger move coming. 2 more moves gotta be coming. We're just giving away that when you already know Melton is still out hurt, Covington is still out hurt, Batum is still out hurt. So you got guys that are still out. So we still need people to play tomorrow, let alone anything else. So I was disappointed, like I said, and it didn't even have to be necessarily Drummond. I'm not going to say and act like I knew every big that was available for a trade. It was probably some people that we didn't know. But at the same time, it's like I do believe the same way, that your sentiments the same way. They were overextended. Nice players. Mo Bamba, Paul Reed, good, serviceable, but like you said, he's one of those players that you can't go over that 15-minute mark because the overusage of them, it doesn't bode well for your team because, he gets erratic at times, he fouls, things of that nature. And just, again, in those moments, the late game situations, stuff like that, he's just not ready for those type of moments, essentially. So I definitely agree. Excuse me, when it comes to that, as far as a little taken back. So I am looking forward to it. And like I said, the buyout list is going to be what it is. Like you said, you got guys like Kyle Lowry there. You got Spencer Dinwiddie that's out there. Like you said, Robin Lopez out there. I think I've seen a list on here. There's a couple of people that's out there and available, but it's like you said, it looked like it's all signs point to Kyle Lowry, which is like, is that really a needle mover? Like me personally, I would have rather kept Pat Bev than try to go out there and Kyle Lowry. Because I believe Kyle Lowry's done. That's one. Because if he was of some type of service, I don't think Miami would have traded him for Terry Rozier. I don't think so. If he was some type of service, I don't think, even in a backup role, because it wasn't like he was starting out there either. So it's not like he was starting in Miami. So even coming back here is like, so how much are you looking forward to him to play? What are you looking for him to do? I mean, can he stay healthy? That's another one. Soft tissue injuries all last year plagued him in the playoffs with the hamstring and everything like that. So it's like, what are you really going to get out now? If you seen it talking about maybe grabbing Spencer, maybe, because that's another scoring threat where it's like, okay, if he's out there with Maxey, he can actually get a bucket, or if he's not out there with Maxey, he can run a team. As you can see, when he's out in Brooklyn, he ran the point guard, so you still get a ball handler that can do pick and roll with Embiid or whoever else is out there. So if that's someone that they're looking at, I would look at that as well when it comes to that. So I think you probably feel the same way as most people are when we looked at this, because it started off very well, but then it's like, what's next? Where do we go from here? And I would pose that question to you. What do we go from here? Like, I know the future can be one thing, cap space, picks, all that. We know that. We know the off season is a different animal. But when it comes to pertaining to this season, going forward, do you believe these were moves constructed to just add players for the future, or is it more so they really do believe that Joel has a real chance of being back and they want the team to be complete when he comes back? And do you think this team was good enough if he is to come back, even if he's 80%, 75%?
I feel like this move specifically for Buddy straddles the fence as far as him being an asset now, providing spacing for the majority of the team right now without Embiid. And then with Embiid, the actions they can run with Buddy. I think that's number one. Number two, going to next year, I feel like Buddy is somebody they would probably target anyway. So if he does play well, they have his bird rights, they can re-sign him and go over the cap to re-sign him. So I feel like those are all good things for them if it works out. So I think ultimately it was a double play. As far as going from here, I guess you see where the buyout market is going, and hopefully they can get I mean, if they get Laurie or if they get Spencer Dinwiddie or anybody else that's out there, maybe a big shakes loose,
Right.
and then you go after another big, then maybe they do that. But I think right now is really about them getting healthy, honestly. And I'm not even talking about just Embiid, Batum, missing Melton and Batum and Covington for that matter. But Melton, Batum, you can tell like they are missing their quick trigger shooting and defense and versatility. Like definitely missing that.
Absolutely.
And everybody halfway sick all the time. Like everybody else
What's
hurt.
up with the little flu situation or whatever it is? Yeah.
All-Star break, although they're free falling in the standings, the All-Star break couldn't come at a better time for them right now. Absolutely. So you'll hopefully see these guys get healthy. Hopefully Melton to get back, Batum to get back, and they can start winning some games without Embiid and try to stay afloat and stay out of the play-in. One thing I'll note, and I'll say this on here, I'm surprised that KJ Martin wasn't traded. And I'll tell you why, because I'm very observant. And at the game last night, at the press conference, him and Ricky Council Jr. were at the podium. And I peeped that, they wore their city jerseys last night.
Okay.
I peeped that he had his jersey, number 1, the regular Sixers blue, and he was taking it out like it was like a souvenir. And he had it, and I was just like, oh, he had to be told that he might be traded tomorrow or whatever the case may be, but he's still on the roster. And KJ Martin did hit some threes last night. He showed some more versatility, and he intrigues me anyway, right? Like athletic, like he's strong, he's big. We'll probably see KJ Martin at small ball 5 going forward. I promise you that. So I'm surprised about that. That he wasn't gone, and I'm surprised Covington wasn't traded. But they must not have just been able to find a trade partner that made sense for his salary. So it's like better to keep him. But these guys got to get healthy tomorrow. We'll probably see a lot of two-way guy minutes as they try to make it.
You ain't got nobody else here.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, and you just got to help some of the main guys get healthy again, and hopefully they make more moves. But like, just if an insider comes out and with something about what happened at the deadline, I'm just interested to see what the hang up was for the guys in the Pistons, Bogdanovich and Burks, and whoever else they were interested in. Just wondering like what was the hang up on those things. And of course, Malcolm Brogdon, they probably wanted a first-round pick, and the Sixers didn't want to give that up. So I think today was about holding on to their first-round picks so that they could have 5 at the draft and try to make a bigger move then and move the needle that way. So we'll see.
We shall see. All right. Well, it's that 5:30 to 5 o'clock hour. It's 5:30. You already know what's next. He just entered the room. The NBA insider himself, Brandon Scoop B. What's going on, sir? How you been, man? Welcome to the show.
What up, fellas? How you?
What up?
What's going on, man? What's going on with you, man? How's happy NBA trade deadline day treating you?
Pretty chill. Nothing too crazy. A lot of swaps of role players.
Yeah.
A lot of things have changed, particularly with the amount of first and seconds that you can move. But in addition to that, just what other teams want to give up. So I heard Justin talking about Malcolm Brogdon and cases like that. A lot of it just has to do with what people feel like giving up and whether they want to mortgage their future or not. So you see why Bojan is where he is, and Alec Burke is back in the New York Knicks uniform. But to be honest with you, I think swapping of role players is pretty significant because teams like Phoenix, teams like the New York Knicks are looking to get better. And then you look at the buyout market where guys like Kyle Lowry could find his way to Philadelphia in a role there. Guys like Grant Williams fall out of contention in Dallas, but then you bring up something in return that makes them better. Even in Phoenix, where Royce O'Neal will benefit, Phoenix come playoff time, and the moves that they made with Memphis and Brooklyn. So I think what you saw today is a setup on a chessboard for what will ultimately be a very busy offseason.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, since we have you here, I just want I guess get your take on today. I guess we can do you can call it I guess winners or loser who made a significant impact or lack thereof, essentially like that. When you looked at the landscape of what happened today, what did you like, what didn't you like, or who did you like to see make a move, or who did you look like they wanted to make a move but didn't make a move, essentially like that? What would you like or dislike when it came to this?
I think the Brooklyn Nets stack chips for the future.
Okay.
For bigger moves come the offseason in a world where many people some thought Michael Bridges might be on the way out. That was never really the case. That was more of a Knicks pipe dream than anything. But I think that when you look at Spencer Dinwiddie, a contract that was movable to Toronto, you look at Thaddeus Young, those swaps of assets there make both teams, offset both teams. Toronto has more of a championship aspiration, or at least more of a competitive outlook there. The Knicks, to me, their building of their team really began, in my mind, when they moved RJ and they got OG Anunoby. But I'll add Phoenix to me. I think Phoenix and Milwaukee, to me specifically Milwaukee defensively, I think that Damian Lillard, respectfully, is going to benefit from having a Patrick Beverley in that locker room defensively. To me, that move was a bit surprising, only because you knew that Philly had assets from the Los Angeles Clippers trade, and I thought some of those assets would be others that were mentioned. Justin, you made mention of KJ Martin. He was somebody that was discussed as a potential filler with guys like Robert Covington and others. But Patrick Beverley ultimately found his way to the Milwaukee Bucks. So I think Milwaukee, Brooklyn, the New York Knicks definitely benefited from the trade deadline. I also think that the New Orleans Pelicans benefited by not making a drastic move. I had been throughout the last month that they were looking to add a rim protector to their roster, but they weren't looking to make something so drastic. So I know that in Atlanta, the Pelicans and the Atlanta Hawks had conversation, particularly concerning Onyeka Okongwu. But I know that ultimately there are some pieces on that roster that the Pelicans weren't just so ready to give up. So ultimately, that deal was not on the table. And that was a separate conversation in relating to DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray was a topic of conversation with the Pelicans, and the Pelicans definitely had assets. I'll also add that I think Gordon Hayward going to the Oklahoma City Thunder a prudent move, specifically because they're such a young team. They're one of the hottest teams in the league, and who doesn't need strong shooters, specifically when you have someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who in my mind is an MVP candidate, who does draw the ire of defensive opponents. He now draws a double team, and he has somebody in Hayward that he can kick the ball out to when he's being double and triple team. I also like the move from Monty Morris going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I talked to Monty this afternoon, and he told me he's excited to go to Minnesota. He did have the ability to be home. A Flint, Michigan native, did play for the hometown Pistons briefly, but he is chasing a championship at this point now with the Minnesota Timberwolves playing well in the NBA's Western Conference.
You're back on mute, AB.
My bad. Yeah, I was letting my guy have the floor. Appreciate it. So yeah. No, I agree. And you brought up the Hayward situation. Definitely, that was a solid move for me. I like that. You get a vet in there, that just a professional essentially like that. And like again, you get a shooter. I guess the main thing is does Gordon still have enough left essentially like that? We know it's been a couple years now, dealt with some injuries, stuff like that. But as far as just on the surface is what it looked like, I do agree that's definitely something that I looked at that I that I felt was a good move essentially. Well, I know you spoke with about the Knicks and the Nets and things like that. I mean, moves like that. First added OG first, and then now you add in someone like Bogdan and Alec Burke and stuff like that. Does this make them a real contender now, essentially like that? You look at the Knicks as someone to really, because again, just to give you a preference, I said that's someone I'm looking at because of the impact OG made when he got there, and if Thibs can actually figure out how he can coexist everyone together with the new additions as well. They're getting another shooter out there as well. Is the Knicks someone that, or a team that you look to that can really make some noise after the All-Star break and really contend for a title and then in the playoffs, essentially?
Well, I already saw them as a contender prior to that. I think that adds to the roster. I think Bogdan adds to the roster. But I think one of the intangibles on that team are one in Precious Achua as well as Dante DiVincenzo.
Yes.
Who in OG Anunoby's absence has played well. You know that the team is built around Julius Randle as well as Jalen Brunson, but it's the added pieces. Mitchell Robinson is on the mend. He'll be back. Then, you look at just some of the other pieces there, like Grimes to me, and as well as Evan Fournier were two guys that were being dangled in every move imaginable. I mean, there was even conversation about, the Wizards as well as the Knicks having some sort of conversation concerning potentially bringing Daniel Gafford as a solid backup to Julius Randle. And ultimately the Knicks got leaner and they just added on to an already potent bench. I think that they added to their bench, which helps them pretty well. So I think the Knicks were already a contender. And I think even with a Philadelphia 76ers team who are without Embiid for a little over a month or more, the Knicks are competing with a Boston Celtics team as well as a Milwaukee Bucks team in the NBA's Eastern Conference. I think that this would be the year for a Knicks team to compete. I mean, but if you want to be fair, the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing pretty well too, particularly to start the year. Seven wins, I think 15 of their last 7 straight wins, and I think 15 of their last 16 they've won. So, I mean, to be fair, but ultimately, I think the Knicks have definitely put themselves in prime position. They don't have to wait on a Donovan Mitchell. They can go out and compete this year.
Scoop, what's going on with the Lakers, man? Like, was it the right way for them to not do anything at all? Was that the best case scenario, or should they have, made a move, or was it even a move out there that they could have been made? Did they have enough to even make a move essentially like that? You know anything about what's going on in La?
The conversations were always DeJounte Murray and D'Angelo Russell, but to be honest with you, it never made sense to me. I think oftentimes you expect a team that has LeBron James on it to be a trade or two in the fold, and I didn't think it was smart to move D'Angelo Russell and Rui Hachimura. And I think the reason, well, I don't think I know the reason why it wasn't smart is because you haven't seen the full roster that they constructed in the offseason healthy. I mean, going back to Gabe Vincent and Taurean Prince being signed and adding that with LeBron and Anthony Davis and more, you re-signed D'Angelo Russell. I think when you have a training camp together, like, so for example, right, a lot of people looked at Doc Rivers in Milwaukee as, okay, you bring in a head coach and he's bringing in his staff with a brand new roster. And I feel like when you don't have a training camp to get your affairs in order, that lack of communication or play calls or even just relationship could be lacking. Comparatively, when I look at the Lakers, I feel like if you get that team by bringing in DeJounte Murray and you're alleged to be a championship contender, I feel like there's a level of just connectivity that's lacking. That Lakers team, in my opinion, won the offseason. They just haven't been healthy. D'Angelo Russell, as of late, has played consistent basketball at points where LeBron and Anthony Davis have sat. And I just don't think it was smart, to do that. And I think the other side of the coin is this. In a world where everybody looked at Zach LaVine as a guy who came in, having surgery changed some things too. Conversation with the Lakers and the Chicago Bulls on that front. But ultimately, I don't think that you should disrupt your core. The other part of it is guys are starting to get healthy on that team. The second half of the season will be here before you know it. So far, Denver, the Clippers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Oklahoma City Thunder have been the terrors since the public school era, as Biggie Smalls would say, in the West. Ultimately, though, the Lakers, if healthy, as a team that has a lot of experience, I think could at least compete. But to just gut your team, to bring in DeJounte Murray or to bring in Zach LaVine, I never thought that was smart. I always thought that the Lakers should have stood pat because you give up Austin Reeves to bring back something you had. I think all those conversations to me just weren't productive. So I think it was smart that the Lakers stayed pat because in the offseason, if you wish to make a move, you can. You totally assess the team based upon what they built this past offseason.
I mean, I guess again, I'm not in there. I'm not, know the ins and outs of everything. But like I said, I do feel like they needed I was surprised, I should say, that they didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, they still need a shooter maybe in here and there to add to what they already have. Again, I do agree with you with the statement of obviously last year, with them being a play-in, making the Western Conference Finals, this year returning with the same team, adding D'Lo, stuff like that. I felt like they should have been better. And I do contribute a lot of it is health because a lot of them did miss a lot of time during this season, which, mess with, wins and losses and things of that nature like that. So I just felt like, something should have been made. Granted, I don't care for the most part. I'm not a Lakers fan, but at the same time, I just felt like something was there. And then, it's a LeBron-led team. It's about winning. It's about championships. It's about what's the best route he could take to win a championship. And I thought that was something that would be on the list for them. But then, like I said, looking around the league, what do you look at that you feel like, what did you hear, rather, I should say? Did you hear anything where a team that felt like a move should have been made, but obviously didn't happen? Or in the case of like Chicago, why didn't Chicago get rid of anyone? It sounded like the GM there just wants to keep everybody now, when at the beginning of the season, you had guys like you said, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, Drummond, I believe is out there as well. All these guys that were on the table, what made a team like that who's in so many conversations about trades not want to do anything at all, knowing that they need to essentially blow that team up essentially and refigure some things?
Because I still think that they have some pieces there that are workable.
Okay.
I think the emergence of Kobe White, like the national, seeing the talent that Kobe White is in Chicago. I think Alex Caruso and Kobe, alongside DeMar DeRozan and Patrick Williams and Vucevic, have played well in Billy Donovan's system. But I also think, from the Chicago Bulls' perspective, Arturas Karnisovas and his staff didn't see anything within the landscape of the NBA that made sense. I also believe that, teams where DeMar DeRozan was linked to, namely the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat, got better on their own without giving a call to Chicago. Whether that was bringing in Terry Rozier to the Miami Heat a couple of weeks ago and a deal with Charlotte, whether that was the Knicks getting better, bringing in OG Anunoby. To me, OG Anunoby going to the Knicks kind of X'd out that possibility. I also believe that teams like the Indiana Pacers got better. The Pascal Siakam trade raised the bar for how many picks teams were willing to give or not give in certain moves. Like I'll share, like when you look at the Washington Wizards who moved Daniel Gafford, for example, I know that at the free agency period this past summer, the Pacers were one of the teams who had deep interest in Kyle Kuzma. But then you look at a Sacramento and a Dallas who had the eyes on them, but maybe not all the assets. So what you do is you build around the core of Kyrie and Luka Doncic and what you have, and you bring in a Gafford. You ship Grant Williams and Seth Curry to the Charlotte Hornets, and then you see what that looks like, and then you go back to drum on the offseason. The other thing is you really look at the buyout market. We talked about the Los Angeles Lakers, for example. Joe Harris was waived by the Detroit Pistons today.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
Then you look at the relationship that Joe Harris has with LeBron. If I'm not mistaken, they were Cleveland Cavaliers teammates.
Yes.
There's your shooter right there.
Yep. So
look at Team Phoenix, where Joe was teammates with Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. There's your shooter there. So that's where you kind of the precipice now post trade deadline is how you get better through the buyout market. Guys like Kyle Lowry, Joe Harris, Robin Lopez, and others. Again, if Kyle Lowry reaches the buyout with the Hornets, of course, that's where you go in and you find those pieces.
I agree. I mean, being a Sixers fan, we talked about it earlier. I had John on here earlier from Marks and Reese. He mentioned something earlier that I agree with it. Just speaking Sixers wise, like they aren't the best team when it comes to the buyout market. They don't do very well as far as getting. Someone even wrote a comment earlier. The best buyout market people that we had coming in, I think was Gallinari and Bellinelli. That 1 year that we had was our top situation. So I'm gonna pivot a little bit to the Sixers. We seen what they did, adding a piece like Buddy Hield. You can speak about the trade as what you like. Was it too much to giving up for him or not? But then even the subsequent trades that happened after him, when a guy like, even though Daniel House is more of a money situation, I'm not worried about it. But then a guy like Pat Bev and then Jaden Springer, who looked like you would have thought was a young prospect defensive guy who they felt, who as fans we felt, we would cultivate him, he'll grow with the team, he'll get better. Because as you can see, he has some talent and he has a role. So looking at the Sixers team and the things that they've done, what was your take when it came to that? And do you feel like the needs that they have now after this trade is the buyout market a suitable place for them to go to fill those needs?
Well, I think if you're building a team that has championship aspirations, the Philadelphia 76ers, I was disappointed that Morris was moved. I thought that he was going to be a fit for the long haul.
Yeah.
At least for this season in their push. But you bring in a Buddy Hield who's been linked to that team for years. I think particularly with Joel Embiid being out, you need another scorer. You can't just depend on Tyrese Maxey to be, give you 40 and 50 every night, which is why to me I thought that move made sense. But I also think Campaign has a veteran presence, and I think that helps a lot. But I also think the length of Embiid's absence, you need to find scoring elsewhere. So at the perimeter position, Buddy Hield made sense. I think the buyout market would work in Kyle Lowry's favor, whether that's Philly, whether that is a multitude of other teams, but I think he'd fit like a glove in Philly for two reasons. One, veteran presence as being a guard that is played in multiple NBA finals, has won a championship as a member of the Toronto Raptors, and also is from Philly, Cardinal Doherty's own, Villanova.
Yes, sir.
But I think that ultimately the buyout market would benefit a team like that, because Philly is not Philly of when they signed Danilo or Marco Bellinelli. It's a team that's actually a contender in the Eastern Conference, alongside the Knicks, the Celtics, the Bucks. Patrick Beverley, you asked me about that as well. That was a little surprising, only because I think you need a glue guy. You need a heart and soul type guy. And I think that's where a Kyle Lowry would fit in the buyout market.
I will hope so, because again, like I said, if that was the big out of everything that happened, because even the twin situation, I get it. I get the business of it, rather, I should say. Someone had to go if you're making these trades, so I get that part. So I'm not totally else. I would have liked him to stay, but the Pat Bev really just, like I said, threw me through a loop, and everyone here in Philly essentially threw a loop, because it's like we knew first of all, we've been clamoring for Pat Bev for the last couple years, believe it or not. And then secondly, when he finally gets here, he actually showed dividends. And me personally, I felt like we got the best version of Pat Bev being here. Like you said, a culture setter. He's more mature. He's experienced. He's been in the league long. He's won essentially like that. So I guess the hope is, someone like Kyle Lowry coming in, stepping into that role. Campaign, again, I understand he's a good player. It doesn't move the needle for me, but I would have liked them to see get a big somewhere. I'm not sure what the buyout market looks like with that. I know Robin Lopez probably be bought out, but that doesn't necessarily move the needle neither when it comes to the team.
Defensively, he does.
Defensively, yes. I can see that, but I don't know. I don't know, man. It's things haven't settled down. As I think about things, as go through the motions, look at everything, obviously things will make more sense. But just presently constructed, I still feel like it's heavenly constructed around the fact that, don't get me wrong, you're not winning without Embiid regardless, but I still believe it's a place where Embiid, when he comes back, he still has to do everything, especially when you're coming back in this situation. You already know he's going. If he comes back, it'll be 75 to 80% of an Embiid that you're getting, essentially like that.
To me, I think that's where signing Mo Bamba made sense.
Okay. So do you think because Justin, before he had to step away, he'll be back, but he made a statement. Mo Bamba, and even to a certain extent, Paul Reed. Do you think they'll be overextended or overused at the moment right now, or do you believe like that is something that they can handle in the time being, as far as Embiid being out?
That's why bringing in a swingman like Buddy Hield works.
Okay.
Because you're depending on guard play, whether that's Maxey or Hield, who shifts between 2-3 to spell to pick up the slack, and that's why I say in that string of time defensively,
okay,
you have Paul Reed or you have Mo Bamba sitting.
Okay.
Defensively. What'd you say?
No, I was saying, okay, I was agreeing. My bad. Go ahead.
That's where, Mo Bamba or Paul Reed, when you're resting them, someone like a Robin Lopez would make sense, because when you're shifting the offense and that's in that space where you're depending on guard and perimeter play, you give up the center position as well as scoring, and you have a presence in there. You have a guy that's, guarding other 4s and 5s across the league. So you have a Robin Lopez who's guarding a Karl Anthony Towns, or who's guarding Al Horford, or guarding whoever else is in that position. So I do think that Robin would make sense defensively as a third option within that system. It gives you 10-15 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I was muted. I agree. Like I said, when you break it down like that, I get it. I still got to sit down and look at things. But if you're sitting there saying that their role would be more defined, as far as Mo Bamba and Paul Reed being more defensive and things of that nature, I can see a role being there for them, essentially like that. But real quick before we pivot, because I do want to get some two other things: the All-Star game and then also the Kobe situation. Winners and losers in your book, if you want to, who you think? Just obviously on paper, we don't know. The teams got to be played out. Winners and losers of this trade deadline. Who won for you during this time, and who lost for you, or who didn't do enough that needed to do enough?
Well, I think the winners, as I mentioned before, the Knicks.
Okay.
The Suns got better as they're going to propel and get to the halfway point of the season. I think I think that the Nets, from a planning for the future standpoint,
yeah,
they needed to do. As far as losers, I don't know what the Pistons are going to be. I look at that particularly because of their record this season, and they've given up certain key guys. They've given up Bogdanovich. They just have given some things up. So what the future holds, maybe that's the loser.
Even released Killian Hayes, I believe, as well, too, didn't they?
And then I look at Memphis. They gave up Tillman to Boston.
Boston.
By bringing in Tillman as well.
Yeah.
To me, that's an insurance policy if Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
Even in the sense of it spells Kristaps Porzingis some minutes, so you're not overusing him. And he's a tough guy. So I think I don't think the Lakers were losers. I think them standing pat, they can look at the buyout market and see what is to come. I think the Bucks got better defensively. So I think Dallas got better, particularly because they got a rim protector in Daniel Gafford, who's came out of nowhere to some. Him being traded from Chicago to Washington, he definitely raised his stock, leaving our nation's capital now as a member of the Dallas Mavericks.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna get two more things. We're gonna start with Kobe. 2824 rather, I should say. They're unveiling the statue. Had a nice conversation with Terrell from Atlanta earlier today. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And then also we had a fun little game as far as what pose or what pose you think is going to be unveiled when it comes to Kobe. We had a couple of things that we was thinking about, but yeah, you can speak on that as far as how you feel about that, and then also what pose you think they're actually going to unveil when the statue is unveiled.
It's either going to be Kobe in the defensive stance with his jersey, him biting his jersey, or it's going to be the fadeaway. To me,
okay.
Additionally, as far as Kobe being honored, it makes sense. I'm glad that 2824 has meaning.
Yes.
8 and 24 being his jersey numbers and 2 being Gigi's jersey. But I'll say that for me, Kobe was very instrumental in my career as well as his family. Number one, me going to college in the Philadelphia area on the main line, I learned so much about how much Kobe meant to that area in Lower Merion and Ardmore and everywhere in between. And I learned just so much about the impact from beginning to end. And so him going to Los Angeles and him playing in the finals against the Sixers and that love-hate relationship that he's had with Philly, I thought it was interesting. But one of the last conversations that I had with Kobe was his championship, or excuse me, his retirement tour. And,
okay. Yeah.
This was right after the Super Bowl when, the Broncos beat the Carolina Panthers. And I asked him, what would it have been like to have rode out into the sunset winning a championship just like, Peyton Manning and Elder Statesman. And he said, Elder Statesman, that's nice. I'm older than him. And then conversation just about the fact that he feels vindicated and validated, how many championships he's won, how many All-Star games, how many, different first teams he was in. And Kobe has definitely, I think for younger people, was Michael for people in their 20s.
Okay.
And I think in saying that, I'm not saying comparing, but what I'm saying is his tenacity, the guy, the go-to guy, the way that he tackled adversity, the way that he was determined. I don't think I grew up kind of a tweener where I grew up watching Michael, but also grew up watching Kobe. And I didn't realize how much the 20-somethings now looked at Kobe the same way that my age bracket looked at Michael. And that's his sneakers, his drive, his swag, the way he chewed his gum, and the way that he contributed to women's basketball towards the end. I think I'm glad to see him get his just due. It's unfortunate that he and others on that helicopter passed away, but his legacy is definitely something that we will appreciate.
Got a favorite moment rather? It can be in game, off the court. I got to start. Me personally, it was something small, but during the Eagles run, for the championship the year that they won the Super Bowl. Rather, I said just seeing Kobe being a fan. You know what I'm saying? Being wearing the Eagles jersey, going to the team, talking to the team, seeing them in his house. You know, pump fisting when the ball dropped after he won the Super Bowl. Stuff like that. Very, very memorable to me. And then obviously his going away tour when he came to Philadelphia and played.
I have a ton of Kobe moments, but I have a Kobe adjacent moment, and it was and it benefited LeBron. I was at the Wells Fargo Center the day that LeBron broke Kobe's record.
Okay.
And when the Lakers were on like a 7-game road trip, they played Brooklyn, they played the Wizards, they played the Nets. Well, they played Brooklyn, they played the Knicks, they played the Wizards, they played the Sixers. And I just know the team was tired. And I remember being in the locker room after the game. I was standing next to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. LeBron was right next to KCP, and there are a lot of cameras around LeBron. And LeBron yelled in the locker room, "Yo, we ain't going home tonight. We going home tomorrow." And I don't know if you remember, but Kobe had tweeted that whole thing about, giving him his props, and that was his tweet. Here's why I think this is significant. Imagine that the Lakers went home that night, and the team, LeBron, had overslept. LeBron and Kobe may not have had that last conversation. And people that I've spoken to who were on that team, the conversation was very in-depth. Kobe was very uplifting, very encouraging to LeBron. But here's where it's a bit somber. I've spoken to people who were on the plane when the Lakers found out that Kobe had passed. They were on their way back to Los Angeles. And the way the story was told to me, Dwight Howard had gotten the news first. He was on Wi-Fi. He said, "Hey, Kobe died." And everybody's like, "Man, what? Shut up. Stop playing." And then guys started getting on their tablets, their phones, their computers, and they're reading the news. And from what I'm told about that plane ride, everybody was crying. Everybody was in a wreck. Frank Vogel was the coach of the Lakers at the time. He actually prayed with the team on the plane, touched guys on their shoulders, laying on hands, and was really encouraging to everybody who felt like they lost a father figure, a brother, a cousin, and somebody that they looked up to, an iconic figure in Kobe Bryant. And so that story that has been told to me from a myriad of people who were there, coaches, players, and more, it stands out because it embodies how much we hold on to our heroes and how much Kobe's death kind of hit us differently, because most guys who are icons that we like in basketball, they're either still around or they died of old age or of natural death. Like Bill Russell recently passed away. Isaiah Thomas is still here. Kareem is still here. Michael is still here. Shaq is still here. Magic is still here. Kobe gone, and he was so young.
Yeah.
That's the part that's just daunting to many.
I didn't get it. And again, I was, like I said, I was telling them the story earlier. I'm getting out of church on my way out, and someone texts me, and I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm refreshing. Like this. No, because I do, like you said, I do believe it was such a shock. But then also, like you said, you didn't. I don't want to say this the wrong. You didn't expect him to go. Like you said, he was so young. He just got done playing. You see the aspirations he want to get to. He's writing children's books. The second act was like, we got cut short the second act of who Kobe Bryant was, the person that we was going to see, the man behind everything like that. So I see I lost some camera shot. I'll get that fixed in a second. But yeah, stuff like that, that really, stuck out to me essentially like that. But now that we moving on, I know, you joining us and, gave us a little bit of time here to have a conversation. But essentially, we have the All-Star break coming up. How do you let's start here. We know you got the slam dunk contest. How do we fix it? How do we fix it? Like, what do we do to to get these guys to get and props to Jaylen Brown. I give him his props. He stepped up and he stepped in and he's a star that's playing this year. But how do we get to the point where no one wants to play, and how do we fix it? It's just a money thing that we can do. Like what can we do to sit here and get this thing back on track?
I don't know if there's anything you can do. You still there? So while you all are waiting, he asked me what could be done to fix the slam dunk contest. And I think if it is money, it's incentivizing it similarly to what you did with the in-season tournament and the play or the in-season championship, where people get a certain monetary thing. But I also think, you look at the NBA, it's monkey see, monkey do. When one star shows up, then others will show up. And, ultimately, I think Jaylen Brown is a great start. But the guys that are also competing, like I know one of the Toppin brothers is competing in it. That's cool. But I think ultimately it comes down to people wanting to do it. And a lot of guys don't want to embarrass themselves.
And that's my thing. And I seen something. I seen something earlier with what's Lou Will when he was on. Forgot what he was on, but he mentioned that like it's okay to fail. It's all right. Like you don't have to sit here and be scared of that. 'Cause everyone wants to be perfect. I just feel like it's too much. It's too serious. Where it's just like it's literally the All-Star Weekend is what it is. It's for us to go out there, have enjoyment. You go out there, show off. Show the team off, your skills off, essentially like that, and everything. So I do believe that is something that needs to be, fixed or something. I don't know what they can do essentially like that, but we shall see. So I mean, I appreciate you, man, stepping in and giving us some time. Anything anything else you want to add? Anything that you seen, that you heard, whatever. That just anything you want to share to the people, anything that got going on over there on your side of town, what you up to, what you got coming up, anything.
No, thanks for having me, brother.
No, man, I appreciate it. I see Justin is back. Justin, you got anything you want to say before we get Scoop on out of here?
No, I briefly met Scoop at the Wells Fargo sometime last year. So next time I see him, I'll definitely chop it up. So I appreciate you being on, and I look forward to chopping it up in the future.
Likewise, my brother. Thank you for the opportunity to be myself.
Yeah. So thank you.
Of course, my brother. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Later.
All right, I'm getting some messages. That's all, but it's fine. We good. All right, so yeah, man, that's the show, man. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Sorry about that. At the end, we had some technical difficulties, man. We definitely, stay tuned with everything that we got going on here, Open Gym. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, spread this to everybody man. We're making some movement over here. We're going to have a lot more guests, more notable guests like we had today, like Scoop, like John, like Terrell. I got a lot of things lined up for you guys this year, man. We're going to have fun with it. I just need you guys to be here. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe to everything that I do to stay up to date, man. Help me continue to be able to bring you great content, great shows, anything that I got going on, man. I'm gonna bring it on here. As you can see, I got the shirt on. It's the old merch, the Open Gym merch as well. That'll be coming soon. But yeah, man, I had fun today. We had a lot to talk about. We're gonna see how the season goes. We're gonna see how the season goes, see what the Sixers do, see what these other teams do, the trades that were made. I'm gonna sit down, look at all the trades, all the financial situations, everything that's going along when it comes to it. We're gonna sit here and have fun with it. Again, I'm your boy AB. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment to the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Only the #1 AB __ on Instagram. Only the #1 _ AB on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And Open Gym Network on YouTube. You can find it. All the shows on there that we do, all the interviews that we do, all the content that we do. Make sure you follow, subscribe to everything that we do. Weekly, we are going to have something for you guys to have fun. It was fun today, man. It was fun today. A lot happened. I had fun talking to a lot of people. Yeah, man, this is a good time to be alive, I guess, in sports. I guess for some people and some other people not. Essentially like that. But yeah, man. It's a good time. Glad. I want to thank Terrell from Atlanta, These Urban Times. I want to thank John Marks, retired John Marks from WIP, Marks and Reese, and then also NBA insider Scoop B. Make sure you follow him on all his social networks as well, and also follow his podcast as well. It's called Scoop B Pod. I just recently had an interview with Michael Buffer. You know who that is? The guy that before every major fight in boxing, let's get ready to rumble. Yeah, that guy. That's Michael Buffer. So yeah, man, had a great. It's a great show, man. I had fun. Make sure you follow Scoop B. He's at Scoop B on Instagram, just like that. SCOOPB, all one word. He's on Instagram as well. John Marks Media, he's on there as well. And then obviously Alvarado. So yeah, man, it's your boy AB, man. And this is Open Gym. Thank you guys for stopping by again. Like, subscribe. Thanks to our partner SeatGeek as well. First time on SeatGeek. At sign up, use our promo code only the #1 AB to get $20 off your first purchase, man. And I'm your boy AB, and this is Open Gym Network, the NBA trade deadline show, and we are out of here. Yes, sir.
Shit, we all sign. I've been rapping for a long time. Truth be told, it's been a long grind. And on the real, it's been a long line. I just wait my turn and maybe then shit, we all sign. Feel like I'm up in the ante. Some of you niggas is candy. Bitch, I'm bossed up. Like I do trips to Miami. Now I'm just feeling like Randy. Cause on these tracks, I'm a savage. You catch it's not on my atlas. Some of you rappers is average. Shit, I got a lot of demons. Boy, don't make me have to demonstrate. Deficit. I'm this shit. I think it's time I celebrate. Better than hate. Puff one, then I meditate. Take me up to heaven gates of once, and they say I better wait. Cause I've been rapping for a long time. And truth be told, it's been a long